Welcome to the second episode of the JTP podcast. Today I have with me Colby on the left, myself, Tyler, then Quent. We are going to be ranking our top 10 single-player games that we've ever gotten to play. This list is going to include mostly single-player experiences. Some of them will have multiplayer capabilities, but that's not what we'll be focusing on. A lot of the main aspects of what make video games great, including plot, world building, and characters, are going to be the forefront of what we talk about, but some of these games stand out in areas that many others don't, and we are going to talk about it. We can go from right to left. Quent, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Quent. I love JRPGs a lot.
Tyler?
Hi, I'm Tyler. I dabble everywhere. I like RPGs, I like platformers primarily, but I'll pretty much play anything, give anything a chance, so yeah.
I am a Myth or Justin. I definitely have a fondness for long RPGs that really get you into the characters and the world building. If the writing's shit, I love laughing at it, but other than that, I try to keep my tastes refined. Colby?
Hi, I'm Colby, and you ain't getting anything out of me. Watch my list to see what kind of games I like.
All right, an adversarial approach.
Yeah, bro, I don't give no spoilers.
Absolutely, you're right. I hate RPGs. Those won't be on my list.
Yeah, I actually hate RPGs. I like dating sim games.
I just play video games.
All right, lads. To the tens. Everyone, we will do open ball from 10 to 6, and I will lead the discussion for which specific games we go through, but definitely shout out and give out your initial feedbacks to stuff you're like, whoa! And without further ado, our number 10s are Quent with Earthbound, Tyler with God of War 4, Colby with Doom Eternal, and myself with Skyrim. I think I'd love to start with some God of War 4. A lot of people love this game. Tyler, tell me about your experiences.
Alright, well, for me, my top 10 was pretty, compared to the Elden Ring video, I felt like my top 10 was a distinct, line. 10 to 11 was pretty distinct. God of War 4 was cinematically one of the best games I've ever played. The fight scenes, just the graphics, everything about it is super well done. The fighting is over the top, considering you're a god and you're fighting other gods. So in that aspect, if you like over the top fighting, it's a very good game. The combat's pretty fleshed out as well. There's also some side content with the Valkyrie fights, if you like a bit of a challenge. The one issue I had with it was that I felt like it was a really short game. I finished it and I was like, wait, I'm done. That was just the game. But other than that, the story was good. There was a cool reveal at the end, and yeah, only mostly good things to say about this game. So.
Very mad that I'm realizing now that it's not on my list, because this game is, it's very good. I grew up playing God of War as a series 1, 2, and 3, and I remember finally getting my hands on 4, and it's everything Tyler said. It's insanely good. The cinematics, the gameplay, this is a very, very good modern game that has came out in the past 5 years now.
For sure.
Great. I think God of War is a phenomenal franchise. I haven't been able to play a lot of their original titles because I was just too young for all that gore at one point, and I also just wasn't a big PlayStation guy. I mean, for me at least, it felt like the game was just a crazy beat 'em up, but in God of War 4 they sort of honed in a lot of the edges, characters and stuff.
Definitely much more refined than the original.
All right, we're 40 years ahead of the next entry. I think Earthbound comes in at what, the 90s, the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
90s, 30 years. All right, let's hear about it.
Yep. Earthbound is the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure of JRPGs, and I am not kidding. It takes place in a modern setting, which for the time that it came out was actually pretty unique. It has ATMs, it's got burger shops, it's got arcades, it's got everything that you could possibly find in a typical urban setting. The thing that sets this game apart is not only the setting, but just how insane the events that take place in this game are. This game is extremely funny. It's constantly subverting your every expectation for what you expect a JRPG to be. It's got a very primitive style where usually when you do battles, it just shows the monsters, and your characters are portrayed by little boxes with their stats, like their HP and their MP. So it's definitely not going to cater to everyone because it's very classical, very, very old. But it is so much fun. The enemy variety is absolute insanity. It's got a really good challenge. It's it's so hard to describe this game because every little thing that happens in this game, like if I were to like explain what happens, you probably wouldn't believe me, and if you did believe me, you would probably be so convinced to play it that it would, I don't know, this is such a weird one. So like a good example of like how weird this game is that you fight cultists who worship the color blue, and they paint their entire town blue. That's just an example of how weird this game gets. It's one of my favorite JRPGs of all time. I played it a couple years ago, and it oh man, it just charmed me so much because when I played it for the first time, it was like, again, I said it before, but it's really like the first time you watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's just so crazy and off the wall, and like there's these ideas and concepts that you never really think about before, and then it just like encapsulates you, and you think about it for so long, and to this day it still has a very large impression on me. So Earthbound is a masterpiece on the SNES.
How sorry, have any of us played Earthbound? Because I have not, sadly.
No,
I have not.
They're very interested in playing it though. I want to get to it.
It definitely makes me want to play it. I think I definitely am still part of the team of like the graphic gap still makes it difficult for me, but I bet you a game like Earthbound I could come across too, being like, yeah, screw it, let's just get down to the bones of the
graphics
RPG.
for it actually are pretty fun. Like they're simple, but like there's so many crazy visuals in this game. I think you would actually be like surprised.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I have heard is that this game with like the Nintendo Switch's like save state mechanic and without are like entirely different games.
It is.
Because I've heard it is very difficult at parts.
Yeah, because like it presents itself as this like funny kind of casual-esque JRPG, but when you play it, like in the first area alone, you're gonna get your ass beat so many times, and you're like, wow, okay, this game's not fucking around. It's definitely not casual oriented at all. I'd say it's actually like you have to know what you're doing to like play it, which I think is kind of cool. Because like you wouldn't expect a game like this to be difficult. You just expect it to be like kind of a meme, like all the way through. But it's actually not. It's actually got a lot of depth.
And on that note, we can hop back again 30 years into the future to talk about a very famous title amongst its entries of titles, Doom Eternal.
Alright, for this game, I have this game, and it's kind of another game where I grew up playing like the original Doom. Like, I'm not that old, but like I always had it on like the PlayStation and like everything. And like this was a game I played with like my dad when I was a kid. And I remember when Doom Eternal came out, this game like blew my mind with how fast paced it is. Just like it is insanely brutal with just the way you like can just rip through like hundreds of demons and like all these like monsters and stuff with like complete ease. Like this game is like the story's great. That's like the story that's there. Like, you know, you have to kind of want to pay attention to it if you're looking for a story. But this game's mostly on my list for gameplay alone. Like, it is just so fun, fast paced. I honestly feel like I could play this game all day and just not get burnt out.
I haven't touched Doom Eternal. Have you, Quent?
Oh yeah, I've played it.
Oh, go ahead then.
This is my favorite single-player first-person shooter of all time. I fucking love this game.
It's insane. Like, this game, like, I really wanted to put it up higher, but like, I couldn't because like the story is definitely not as important as it is in other games on my list. Which story to me is like a huge thing. But there definitely is one there, and it is good. But Doom is much more sold on just, you know, as the game says, like ripping and tearing through hundreds of demons. And
Doom Eternal
it's
gives
great.
you so many options. Like every single thing in Doom Eternal has a use. Like the flamethrower gives you armor. The chainsaw gives you ammo for all of your weapons. Like the sheer variety of the demons that you fight, the weapons that you get, and all the equipment that you get is masterful. Like all of it has a use. The game fucking plays and looks stunning. Like it's absolutely insane. And they've also like they were able to make this game run perfectly fine on a Nintendo Switch, which to me is a huge achievement.
I love everything about it. The flow of combat, and of course my number one personal thing in any first-person shooter game from now on until the day I die is a shotgun with a grappling hook.
Yes.
Every game deserves to have that, and I immediately deduct points from any shooter game if it doesn't have one.
This game isn't on my list, but it's damn close. It's not an honorable mention either, but it's damn close.
And with that, I will finish with a Tommy classic. Who's the creator?
Todd Howard.
Todd Howard Manifesto. So Skyrim, within the first 5 years at least, is probably one of its only kind. It redesigned the whole idea. Sorry, that's a terrible way to put it. It revamped the entire quest, the entire questing and adventuring system that many open world games were limited to, in either a hardware or a technical sense, that Skyrim sort of opens the floodgates with and says, hold my beer. This game's massive. This is the Elden Ring of about 10 years ago, where they just felt like there was too much content. And I absolutely loved it every time I went back to it, because there was always something new or different that I could do. And a lot of the choices that you make throughout the game have different consequences or outcomes. So even the repetitive stuff felt like that it could be changed or varied. And every run's just about different, because the way you divvy up your skill points can sort of change it. However, you'll realize that certain things are better than others. That's sort of a meta issue, but I had the most enjoyment spacing out yearly, if not bi-yearly, Skyrim playthroughs where I didn't ingest too much, and every time I came back to it, it's just, it's a blast, man. The most fun I had is easily with mods on my latest playthrough, just screwing around with crazy stuff, making one of my shouts Amaterasu that just easy moded everything. It was absolutely a blast, and the game itself within its own game is phenomenal. And I'm putting this in a very fine way because I absolutely hate what Bethesda did with the game afterwards, because it's such a cash grab. It annoys the shit out of me. Of course, they're doing tons of other stuff. They have Elder Scrolls Online. Elder Scrolls 6 is a myth, but it eventually probably won't be a myth one day.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Title.
Right. And they still managed to put content, albeit the stupid workshop. Or no, I don't think they did that with they did that with Fallout. Sorry. But it really, really felt like they kept rebundling the same game over and over again for the past 10 to 15 years. And I've just been super annoyed with it. Like I think they just did like a 15th year.
I can't wait to play it on my like smart refrigerator.
Oh,
But
in like
honestly,
10 years from now.
That could already be a thing for all I fucking know.
It could be. I think it's annoying, but the sustaining thing is that this game is phenomenal. So thank God you're rebundling a phenomenal game to people that everyone should at least get a try at. It's really funny that it's really fascinating how you can play Skyrim at any point throughout its lifespan and have just not only completely it aged great. You can have such different journeys every single time and stuff to tell your friends about that's funny or unexpected, and it's great. I guess I should leave the floor open for others. There's so much to talk about.
I do like you said, it's so crazy how like after playing this game so many times for so many hours, I still, when I go back to this game, I will run into something that I've never fucking seen before. And I'm like, it blows me away that like, you know, what's this game? Like, it's like 10 years old, something?
2009, I think?
Older than that. And I'm still finding new stuff. Like, it's definitely one of those games that, like, you know, I'll play for like a month straight, and then, you know, I put it back on the shelf, and I come back to it in like a year or two, and I'm hooked again. Like, it's like the first time I've ever played it again.
Skyrim is the huge innovator, for sure. Like, it changed the landscape forever. Then, like, open world games are still borrowing and stealing ideas from Skyrim to this day. It's pretty much timeless. Like, people like to meme on how buggy it is and, like, how bad the code is sometimes, but, like, the fact that, from my experience, I've only experienced, like, 2 game-breaking bugs and, like, maybe 2,000 plus hours of game time pretty much says everything you need to know.
Yeah, the big thing for me was the skill trees. Like, I think that Skyrim pretty much perfected the skill tree. Like, it can be overwhelming because there's so much and so many skill trees, but I really like the way that it's, like, gone through, like, how you can fight one-handed and then your one-handed sword skills get better, and you can bargain with people and then your bargaining gets better, or steal from people and your thievery gets better.
It's overwhelming, but it's understandable, and it
exactly.
makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much as well done as you could make a skill tree system.
I think you definitely hit home on a point I missed. I didn't talk about the bugs. That'll definitely bring Skyrim from a top 5 game to a 6 or 10, because jeez, my lord, can you just run into some of the craziest stuff that just breaks games, or loses you incredibly important stuff, or your teammate, or the quest item, or the objective.
Keep in mind though, there are funny bugs though.
There's still funny bugs.
There are funny bugs. But I guess they did make a very good save system, that it's easy, quick, and repeatable. So it's sort of they did their best to combat their own issues with such a massive game. But I can firmly say that Skyrim will rank as a late but great contender for me. And on that note, we shall proceed. Where to next? I believe we have some spicy takes coming up. I'm very excited. Everyone, shun Colby.
Hey, chill, don't leave me alone.
I feel there's no questions needed. Colby, begin your trial.
Oh boy. All right. I need to. Clearly, I am a very.
I'm gonna
controversial
defend Colby
topic
here. I'm just saying it right now.
I think this game, I played this game like I think as soon as it came out, the remake. I was a huge Automata fan, or Automata, whatever you want to say. This game is honestly a masterpiece. The story is great, and hot take, I actually really liked that you replay the game multiple times to like get through the story. I found that very cool because I like that while you do that, like each time you get like little tidbits more info in on the world. Granted, like not even all of them are all that important, but just I don't know. I just each playthrough I grew to appreciate the characters more and like the world around, and I started to understand things more. And then add on to that the music is absolutely beautiful in this game. I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't listening to the game soundtrack as we speak right now. Because I literally am. I have Song of the Ancients playing right now. And like the gameplay, while I know there's much to be desired after playing, because I know you guys played this after Automata, but I kind of liked that it was much more like simplistic. I liked that it was much more simplistic than Automata, and it was great to me. Like I like the ending, like the true ending too is also really good. It's just all around like I love this game.
Near Replicant. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Near Replicant is the only game besides Automata that uses the medium of a video game correctly for storytelling, and I think that alone like shoots
It's crazy. Yoko Taro's
he knows how to
ability
do it every
tell
time.
a story.
Yeah, he tells great stories.
Is I would say on a different level from a bunch of like even most other developers, like just they don't do it like him.
Huge agree. He's a genius. Like there's no denying that.
But tell me if I'm wrong. You said it is one of the only games that knows how to use the medium of a video game story correctly.
Or very well. I guess I'll correct and say it's one of the best examples besides Automata.
Okay.
I do think Automata does it better.
Right.
But this game is also very good at doing that.
So the issue with the statement at first would be like, my goodness, you'd be contending with so many games that put story at the forefront. Obviously, I am not the
right.
most.
I mean, I realized that, and that was a mistake on my part, so I apologize.
You're good.
Wording it that way.
My problem is from the few Let's Plays I've seen, because I could not be bothered to buy this game. I don't know if I agree entirely with the story beats. I'd have to play it, but I'm gonna leave my opinions there and let Tyler take it.
This guy didn't finish the game either.
Yeah, dude, I fucking couldn't, man.
He stopped when the game got good.
So for me, this felt like a scam. This game was not worth $60, first off. But also, I feel like they were just like, oh shit, Automata did so well. Let's emphasize a game that we already made and just make it for a newer console. There was so much of it that I was just so underwhelming. Like maybe if you're a big Nier guy from the beginning, then Replicant can hit home. Maybe if I played it in whenever the original came out, what was it, like 2000 something? I don't even know.
It was a while ago.
I feel like this game very much depends on how you look at it. Because if you're looking at it as a case of this came out after Automata, I can definitely see a lot more of your points. But I went into this game knowing it was like the prequel game, and knowing that it was going to be like a lot more like dated in comparison to like Automata.
They wanted to give it a chance because like they saw how well Automata did. They're like, okay, let's see if we can recreate an older game, and like so that way people, because like what Tyler just said, no one's gonna play a really bad design game from like 2008. So why not
Yeah.
like use the success from Automata, remake it,
I
make it
think they
a little
did the
bit
right
closer
play.
to Automata. I think they did too.
Because
And
I didn't even know about. I mean, I knew about it, but like I didn't even know like anything about the story or anything before it came out, like as a remaster. Like, and I would have never gone to the PS3 to play it. You know.
it's inaccessible, but the story still holds up. So I think it was a good choice.
I just felt that the combat got super, super repetitive so fast. Automata, I did not feel that way at all. And with this game, it was like you're either fighting small shades or big shades the entire time. And I played a decent amount. Like, I don't know, I probably got like 20 something hours in.
Well, I mean, Automata's a lot of you're either fighting small robots or big robots. Just
But
the fighting
The
is
difference
like
is the
faster
range,
and
but even
flashier.
Replicant has magic that you can use. So
Yeah,
I-
I definitely feel like Automata's combat's way better, and like everywhere, it's like flashier, it's faster paced, just there's more to do. But I definitely don't really see simpler as just worse, you know.
Neither do I, and you'll see that when you see later in my list. But like just in this case, it felt like I'm not saying it's a bad game, but it felt like a kind of scummy cash grab. Like they were just like, I don't even think I paid $60 for Automata, and the game was longer and significantly better. I feel like they were just kind of like, hey, we're successful, let's take advantage while we can and make this $60.
it makes
And
sense.
it
Though.
worked.
It
No,
makes
I know, but
Well,
I'm
here's
just
the other reason.
I wasn't a
like,
fan.
Because like Yoko Taro games have never sold well, like ever. So
Yeah.
it's like you say it's a greedy cash grab. At the same, I feel like it's like also like, well, Automata
Yeah,
did well.
this-
We need more money so we can make a better
I-
sequel in the future potentially. I know that's like really pretentious and stupid sounding coming from me, but like I just thought it was kind of funny.
I
thinking
feel
of it
like
that way.
Replicant, more people probably see this more as like a game that came out after than like a remaster, you know? At least that's how I even kind of see it, because like I didn't even really know anything about it before.
Mhm.
Like Yoko Taro's games are like before Automata was just like a kind of a niche thing. So I'm now part of the group that I hope they remaster Dragon Guard.
Yeah, me
I'll
too.
Pay,
I'm
I'll
like,
pay
yeah,
$60 for it.
I will
I don't
pay
care
60.
if it's even simpler than Replicant. His story that he's crafted, I've watched like numerous videos just trying to understand everything, and like I just it's beautiful. Like the story he's put out for this game.
I think
No, I respect it. It just wasn't for me. I thought it was just a much more clunky game than Automata, obviously because it's an older game.
Yeah.
Just
Well, that's no
made for a
excuse
newer
either, 'cause, like
console.
they remastered it. They could have made it less clunky. I mean, I'll agree with you on that point for sure. Because if you're gonna remaster a game, at least make it to the same standard of gameplay as Automata to an extent. Like as far as the
Yeah.
controls go. But that's like I do agree on that point for sure. But like the story's great, and I think I don't know. It's just like I like Nier. Like I'm not gonna say I like Nier before Automata because I didn't, but like Automata made me appreciate the older games more. So when I saw that Replicant was getting remade, I was like, oh shit, that's really cool. Let me play this because it's obviously gonna be way better now, and I'll be able to enjoy the experience more.
Yeah. The two positive experiences that I did have from this game was Colby touched upon it, but the music is really good. But I think that also carries over to Automata as well. Both their soundtracks are like
Automata's
damn near perfect for the setting and stuff. But the other thing was I actually enjoyed that sand temple, like the puzzles in the sand temple. I know you guys
That was the worst part.
wasn't that fun. I actually liked that part a lot. That part I was like, wait, maybe I'll actually get into this, and then I didn't like the rest. So I
Definitely a
that part.
Legend of Zelda fan, loving the puzzles.
That
Yeah.
part pissed me off.
Hey, I mean, my number 9 is a Zelda game, so
That's facts.
Speaking of that Zelda game, we have a contentious topic that me and Tyler are gonna have to delve into.
Oh, I'm gonna be
Tyler,
into it too, buddy.
tell me why Wind Waker's at 9.
Okay, so this game for me, I felt like I had to put it on here, and the funny thing is that I could not sit through the vanilla version of this game again. I would not be able to do it. As a kid, this game was like one of the first. It was the first Zelda game that I played, but it was also one of the first single-player games in general that I played. And back then, I played the shit out of the vanilla game. I played it 20, 30 times. And I loved it every single time I played it. After a while, I kind of teetered out. I experienced other games, obviously. And then Justin one day was like, yo, let's do a Wind Waker rando. And holy shit, our Wind Waker rando is just some of the funnest video games experiences I've ever had. We've had some all-nighters, some 9-hour, 10-hour runs, finally cut our time down to like 8 hours, and then we had one god-tier 4.5-hour, 5.5-hour run, and we'll never touch that, and we both know it. But just, it has so many, like, the randomizer works so well, and it kind of takes away part of the game that after playing it through the first time you don't care for, like the very slow dialogue because it was made in 2002 or something, or just the cutscenes, or even just sailing around with the normal sail. But the game itself is very, very good, especially for its time. The dungeons were all fun. Even the bosses, typical Zelda formula with the weapon you find in the dungeon is the one you need to use to fight the boss, but it does it well, and it's a cool spin-off having it be like island based. I don't know about you guys, but for me, whatever game I'm playing, I don't like water areas or water levels or whatnot, but Wind Waker is an exception to that. I think it makes it really cool how there's an island per square on the grid. It makes it seem very spacious, but it also is organized to a way where it's simple. And yeah, just a very fun game.
Well, here's the deal. I think the original Wind Waker game is alright. I don't like it. Like, I don't know if I can ever play it again either. I think if I had to like objectively critique the game, I'd definitely say that it does good things. There's a lot of consistency throughout all of its things like you typically have in a Zelda. And that's great and all, but as someone who wants a little bit more complexity and less annoyance in the things that I do, for satisfactions that are high payoffs and stuff like that, this game doesn't do it at all. Until you randomize it, and it's just about one of the best experiences ever. The hundreds and hundreds of hours I put into Wind Waker randomizers with Tyler are some of the most fun experiences I've had. Here's the deal. I don't have Wind Waker on my list. I'd put Wind Waker with randomizers in my top 3, and I don't think it'd be close. I'm surprised you have it 9, because I didn't put it on my list, because if I allowed myself to put one randomizer on the list, not only would I have then flooded my list with randomizers, I wouldn't know how to balance that with the actual games. So for example, in my Skyrim talk, I mentioned the mods. Going by my list, I'm actually not applying the mods to the game at all. I'm just talking about that because that was just a great part that I had and fun. But because I can't put Wind Waker on my list and have a list that's like consistent, because the randomizers itself is just like it's like almost like a mini game in a game, and the funny part is this mini game is better than games themselves. But that would ruin my list if I had to do that, and for that reason I couldn't do it. I know that if I had, and with what you're doing, it's completely fine, because you definitely aren't someone who's played as many randomizers as me anyways. But for example, for me, there is dozens of Zelda randomizers, Metroid randomizers that would flood my list easily. that I don't have on my list because it would dramatically change things.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. The thing for me, though, is that I think this game, growing up, was probably a top 2 game for me for like 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Just the vanilla game, not even talking about the rando.
All right. That's fun.
Like, I played the shit out of this game, like, from when, I don't even know, since I was like 6, maybe 6 or 7 even. And I just, every once in a while, I'd be like, oh, I'm bored. And then I'd look through some of my games and be like, shit, Wind Waker. Oh my God, let me go play it. And then I'd just play it. So it was that game for me. The randos are a fucking blast. And the fact that it's like, I could go back to Wind Waker whenever. And I can't say the same about some of the other games on this list. I mean, obviously, I have them above for certain reasons, but Wind Waker specifically, like, I feel like I could just replay it with the rando as many times as I want, even if it wasn't randomized, but just smooth sail, no cutscenes. Like, I'd still have a blast. So for that reason, I had to put it on my list.
I don't blame you. I think that can surmise a good portion of games that you and I, and if not Quent and Colby, may have been able to experience through mods or randomizers that we can definitely talk about if they aren't going to be applied
I'll talk
at
about
all.
them, but I've excluded like any altercations from like the games on my list. So like I'm just talking about the actual games, not like mods or anything. But
Yeah, but like,
there's definitely a discussion for them to
Mhm.
be there, especially with the game that's on number 9 for me.
mhm. And you can begin with Fusion, as that heavily relates to Zelda.
That's true, it does. So, Metroid Fusion has the greatest atmosphere I've ever played in a video game, and that's a huge statement considering it's on the Game Boy Advance. But this game, for being on the Game Boy Advance with the hardware limitations, being able to scare you and legitimately make you feel dread. Haha, that's a funny reference, by the way. But seriously, though, this game, it's like legitimately frightening to play. The entire time you're playing it, you're going to be on the edge of your seat. You're going to be shitting yourself when the SAX shows up and they got those cold, lifeless footsteps and it's got the crazy weird lighting with like the spotlight over it. That's not the only reason I put this game on the list, though. That's a huge reason, but not the only reason. This is a very Black Sheep-esque Metroid game where Metroid, when you think about Metroid, you think about, okay, a game where you have to go around, you have to find these items, and those items will lead you to other areas, which will lead you to more items, which will allow you to progress and eventually beat the game. Metroid Fusion does not do this entirely. It's a lot more linear of an experience, and because it's a lot more of a linear experience, the game tends to focus more on combat, and also is, I think, the first Metroid game to really integrate an actual story. And I actually think the story is actually pretty okay. It's serviceable. It gets you to point A to point B relatively well. There's some really good foreshadowing, and I think it does a decent job at what it's trying to do. But Fusion is just like fucking really fun. I think it has my favorite combat of like, besides Metroid Dread, this has my favorite combat like of any Metroid game. It's very realized. Every attack that you do just feels super strong when you hit and does shitloads of damage. All the boss fights are designed very well. This is a great game.
Fusion's great. I don't know how much the other boys have in Metroid experience.
Never played Fusion.
Me neither.
Sad Boy Hours, it is a classic, and it's very short, so it's definitely something you guys can pick up really quick. But sliding back to the randomizer portion, Radiant Dawn recently got a randomizer, and it's clunky as shit, but my man, I do love it when I get to make Ike a great paladin and just fucking stomp over everyone. But anyways, Radiant Dawn, the 10th installment of the Fire Emblem series, a hot topic in Smash, but not so hot in the JRPG section. I absolutely love Fire Emblem. I think they have some of the most annoying, stupid, repulsive character, world building, and plots ever imagined. Radiant Dawn's especially no exception. Peleus in the Blood Contract is fucking just peak writing. It gives Obi-Wan Kenobi a run for his money. I think there is tons of, if not... No, I'm not going to go there first. I'm going to go here first. So, Radiant Dawn's combat is the best Fire Emblem combat in my opinion. I hate some of the stuff they do with Fates, and Awakening was, if not better or close to what I'd want in Fire Emblem in a more complex side of it. But Radiant Dawn, as a young lad, was the perfect amount of thinking for me, and I absolutely loved all of the ways that they took 9 and made it better. You have all of the new weapons that have different varieties between their hit, crit, and might and weight. There's new classes, there's third tier promotions, there's tons of maps. It has 4.5 parts. It's crazy. Some of the maps toward the end game get very difficult too, so there can be a lot of complex decisions in the tight and simple format Radiant Dawn presents, and that's why I love it. I think the plot itself doesn't get annoying or overburdening to where the things that you were doing weren't like breaking your immersion by any means, but that sort of doesn't really matter, because you can play most of this game without really worrying about what's going on and really enjoy the strategy in it. Having the third part in the game, I think, cements it above a lot of others. I guess some of it can be a nostalgia factor, but my gosh, from the first cutscene in part 3 to how you have the conflict between the Daein army, if you get over the contrivances of it, it puts some really cool set pieces that you don't see in any other Fire Emblem. Part 2 can be annoying, but it's nice to see how in a world different bodies are basically dealing with their own conflicts. It's not just following one army going through multiple lands like you see in the GBA games. There's definitely a lot of extra stuff that you can do. There's hidden characters, there's bonus modes, there's galleries, tons of extra content. Radiant Dawn was great. I thought this is where Fire Emblem really started to hit its stride. It definitely took some downhill turns and some uphill turns since then. Specifically, Three Houses was definitely a standout lately. But other than that, I had a blast with Radiant Dawn. Definitely a nostalgia pick for me for the most part, but my gosh, I could go back to this game and will with the randomizer at some point soon. As I know we have limited FE experience in the chat right now.
I have never played a Fire Emblem game. I want to get into Three Houses at some point, but I've never like taken the plunge yet. Definitely interested in that.
I was gonna say I have a lot of Fire Emblem experience, and Justin and I have definitely talked about Fire Emblem a bunch in the past. Radiant Dawn for me, I haven't played it, but it's the one Fire Emblem game that I want to play the most because it like what Justin said to me, when I look at Radiant Dawn, and I've only seen a little bit, but like the little bit that I've seen, I was like, yeah, this is probably when fucking I almost said Apex. This is the point to me where old Fire Emblem especially like hit the highest point possible as Radiant Dawn, and I really, really want to play it. However, I am waiting to play it with Justin specifically because it's such a nostalgic game for him, and I think that playing it with him will make me appreciate the game more than if I were to play it by myself. So I am holding out for 2+ years now. Hopefully we can get to that soon, and that will be a great time. But yeah, Fire Emblem is a great series. Radiant Dawn is the one I definitely want to get to the most. I loved Awakening the most for reference, but I realized that Awakening has some game-breaking things in it, such as the Pegasus Knight's ability, which we will not go into. But yeah,
Awakening's wild. But anyways, on that note, we could finally divulge into Z Tier 8. I think that Z Tier 8 also has some spicy takes. I don't quite remember, but we'll see. And here we are, boys. We have Quent with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Tyler with Super Mario Odyssey, Colby with Resident Evil 7, and myself with Final Fantasy 12. Quent, if you want to take the show, Xenoblade's your go.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is often antagonized against a lot because of the over-sexualized character designs and the overall shitty dub and the really, really anime tropey riddled story.
Yeah, bro, you just called my ass out. I was about to comment on that.
However, this game, this is going to be a huge take, by the way. This has my favorite combat system in any video game I've ever played, period. It has so much depth. It has so many different strategies. Every character does something unique. They bring something unique to each battle. The battles are condensed MMO style where you have a few skills. They have different effects. Once you understand how these effects string into each other, it's a shit ton of fun. However, the game suffers tremendously because the tutorials that it provides you with to teach you the combat are terrible, and you cannot view them again after the first viewing, so that is a huge glaring issue with this game especially. This game means so much to me because when I first played it back a long time ago, it just resonated with me on such a tremendous level that even to this day, like, even though I recognize what's bad about it, I can't put it down. I still play it. I still enjoy the characters. I still enjoy the story. The story's really good. People love to shit on the story, but the story's really good. If you pay attention to the story and realize that the entire idea of the story is that you're following a 15-year-old boy who doesn't understand anything. He's a very sheltered boy. He's never seen the world before. And all the characters that surround him have different perspectives about the world that they're in, and they've all gone through their own very terrible things. And because of that, Rex gains a very strong understanding of a lot of different things. And at the end of the story, he's able to fill in his own shoes and is able to make very difficult decisions, even if it hurts him at a very agonizing level. And I think that's really special. But of course, a lot of people want to just rag on the idea that it's bad and has a lot of things in it that are very tropey, as I've said before. Very complicated game, definitely not very casual friendly. I mean, it can be, but like optimizing, especially in this game, is extremely difficult. It has so much content. Like I played this game for like 260 hours and I still haven't done everything in it. So Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is definitely the de facto JRPG for me on Nintendo Switch, besides a few others like Fire Emblem Three Houses, of course. I definitely recommend that as well. But Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is the peak for me.
I haven't played it, but this is one of the games that I really want to, at some point, at least try. I definitely talked about it with Justin before, and I mean, it looks up my alley. It looks like a fun game, and it's exciting for me to hear you say that the combat system is like your favorite combat system. Because there's a few games, one in particular, that I will literally go in on how well the combat system is, and I think that makes for a very fun game. Not to mention all the other good aspects about it. So
yeah, all the jokes aside of like me saying like I was gonna make fun of it for like all the like anime tropes and everything, but honestly, I'll probably play this game eventually. I'll definitely play it eventually.
I had a great fun time playing this game. It took me a while to really start enjoying it. I think the first chapter might be one of the toughest things I've ever had to get through.
Super slow, yeah. It's like JoJo's Part 1.
No, it's
You
worse. It's
know?
worse
It's
than
like,
that. No,
get
no,
through it to get to the
no.
good stuff.
Oh no, dude, bro, I can.
No, but
I
JoJo's
can,
Part 1 is good.
Bro, I could
Yeah,
have
no,
fun
that's
watching
good.
him swing a luck pluck sword all day, man. I can't have fun mashing the attack button with Rex in the sub, dude. That shit was
don't
so
like-
bad, bro.
You not mashing buttons, bro.
I think there was a point within like the first like half an hour where I was like, I'm giving this game like 15 more minutes and I'm done with it. And there was the cutscene with Pyra towards the beginning, and I was like, all right, whatever, where are we going with this? And then you get to Gormat, and I was like, wait, this is great. I fucking love this. I'm enjoying this music. The designs are good
I
enough.
didn't even go into
But
the music.
for the most part, I was like, wait, I love it. I get to go to whatever out of these enemies. I can pick whichever ones. There's like mini boss enemies that have like hopefully special rewards. There's a town over there. I was like, yo, this is RPG, man. And I got really excited. The combat system was fun way later than I wanted it to be.
Yeah, it gets good later, unfortunately.
I was really-
It's definitely a slog.
I was
At
disappointed in it not being that much at the beginning, especially like when you get rock. I remember there was sections where at that point in the game I was just like, I'm not hating, but I was like, all right, it's just kill this guy, go to the next one, all right, kill that guy, all right, go to the next one, kill this guy. I was like, okay. I don't remember having to grind too much. I think I grinded a few times.
You don't have to
just do
grind.
like side quests and shit like that.
There's a really good system in place called backup EXP. So basically, when you do anything in this game, a little bit of XP is like set aside. So when you go rest at an inn, you can just level yourself up accordingly to where you're at. So you don't have to grind, which is really user friendly and definitely cuts down some of that annoying game time for sure. The last thing I gotta say before sorry, just one more thing. The music in this game is fucking god tier. It has my favorite soundtrack in all video games as well. Besides like 2 other games, but like the fucking goddamn, this music is so good. Holy shit.
I use like a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 song every video I make. There's bangers. Moradane, Tantal, it's just so good. But you guys said a lot of the basic stuff that this game gets criticized on. I thought there was few characters that was really standoutish. There's a blade towards the late that's a very samurai looking dude. I'm keeping it vague. I guess I don't need to keep it vague. Jin was a phenomenal character. He was my favorite character. It wasn't close. But like, I don't know. Mithra was very base. Like, I don't know. There was a lot of side characters that really intrigued me, and there was some beats that really intrigued me. Some of it felt really sloggy. And then the worst part of it all is the way that they do some of the battles, in that you'll win a fight and then they'll show a cutscene of you losing. And I think that might be one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Oh, that pisses me off.
There's
people
a lot
meme
of
on
that.
that shit though.
It's super, super, super annoying, and there's a lot of it because
It happens a lot.
they they demand Rex to lose in a game where you're supposed to be progressing as a player. It would be like getting kills in Apex, but the more kills you get, you like lose health, and like once you get to like 5 kills, you lose the game. Like literally. And what? Why would you want your characters to? Why would you want the game to be like that? But it sets up beats like the Mithra beat, for example, and without getting it too much for the boys, because hopefully you do get to play it and get your opinions on it. I think towards the end game you can have just a bunch of fun with what you can do. I had one of the funnest Morag builds in an evasion build, where she like wouldn't get touched by like basic enemies past level like 60. And I was like, this is so fun. And I would just like stand in the middle of groups of enemies and they just wouldn't hit me, and I was like, okay. But yeah, and then that's when the combat gets the most fun. You get a special system with a special character that's just a fucking blast. That system is great. It has one of my favorite songs ever in Counterattack, and it has when I was a fucking wee little weeb, the chapter 7 scene which is
Oh,
the
yeah.
seed. That shit was so hype
The
for me.
seed.
Holy fuck, that was so great. But everything after that it was weird as fuck. You literally like, dude, the landscape of that game does not make any sense. Like
doesn't.
it's
It's
so
fucking-
hard to realize what's going on, and then they do something that's like, wait, what? I guess. But like, I don't know. I like the ideas they go with. It's just like when
It's
you
cool
start
in concept.
like big titans flying through the sky is really cool. But I'm like, wait, how is all of this occurring? It's like they do try to like flesh it out with like titan like
Yeah, they
lifespans
do.
and shit like that. So like it's cool, but that game's all over the place. I don't mind the 8th place. I really don't. I know how much it was for you. But
It
continuing
has
on.
more positives than negatives for sure, but
Mhm.
it's not like I put it number 8 because like it has so many problems that I can't overlook too.
Mhm.
But it gets so carried by the combat for me. It's like, well, yeah, obviously I'm gonna like it more than fucking Fusion because I was like, Fusion's got great combat. I'm like, wait till you see what number 8 is.
Right. All right. This one I might have to have a word with. Colby, you're really gonna have to defend yourself again. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Oof.
Yeah, bro, this game's great, dude. So, all right,
Nah.
this game for me, this is my favorite Resident Evil in the franchise. There, I said it. This is, granted,
Wow.
my first one in the franchise. This is what got me into Resident Evil. And I liked all the others. I liked 2. I liked 3. I played 4. Like I've played them all now. 7 to me though still is so great. This was like also ever since I was like kind of young, like watching YouTube, horror is like has always been like a big thing for me, but this is what got me into playing horror games. This Resident Evil 7 was the first game where I was like, you know, I'm not watching this, I'm playing it for myself. And I'm seeing the chat and I'm seeing that somebody doesn't like this game, but I really like the story of it. I know, like, you know, there's very much things that Resident Evil fans don't very much like. I love the fact that it's first person. It's scary. The combat is fun enough. The combat is fun enough to keep it entertaining. It is tense throughout the game. Overall, I really like this game. The DLC too. DLC adds a lot to it for me. With Not a Hero was a very fun like change of pace rather than you constantly needing to like just watch over every single resource that you pick up to. You're just ripping through all the monsters and everything to, you know, the Death of Zoe or whatever, or what was the name of it? Do you guys remember?
Oh God, no.
Was it Ethan
No
Must
idea.
Die?
No, Ethan Must Die is also very fun though.
Yeah,
I
that
had
was
so
my
much
favorite
fun.
mode.
I had so much fun playing that. But End of Zoe. That is hilarious to me. Just playing as what was his name, Joe Baker, and just punching all of these monsters that before you needed to put like 50 bullets in just to get them to even think about leaving you alone. This game to me means a lot, surprisingly. Like I very much love this game for simply the fact that it practically opened me up to an amazing franchise. Like I definitely would say, like, gameplay wise, I do like 4 and like 2 even over it, but I have much more respect for 7 for what it has done for me in like horror games as a whole.
Well, I guess we could start with a few things. I'd love to mention that this game definitely jumped to try. This game really wanted to try and revamp the Resident Evil system to make it more scary friendly. I think it goes.
I think they should stick with it. I honestly think.
Well, they
the
do.
Earth
They
RE8.
do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And I don't quite know if I'm the biggest stan of it. I think one of my biggest issues with the last 2 Resident Evils, without a doubt, is Ethan. I don't think they do the whole. So first of all, I don't even want to get into explaining what he is, because he's like the half immortal, if not fully immortal. I don't quite know. So
It is definitely confusing.
He's
and
built like a fucking
it's-
tank, if nothing else.
well, so this is hard for me in a horror game to understand, because I think I haven't played the game, but I know that there is dozens of ways Ethan gets maliciously injured. And
Yep.
not only that, but the healing system, I think this is the
Yeah,
one
bro.
where you dump
Pour some
alcohol on the
Yeah, bro,
stuff.
Yeah, he just pours rubbing alcohol on his
Pour
hand.
some juice on that shit, and
I-
you're good to go.
I think
I
he-
fucking love it. It reminds me of Far Cry, where you just like crack your knuckles and you're good to go.
Like,
You break your finger back into place, and there you go. Just get back into playing the game.
I think it's like funny, but that funny is at a cost of many things.
I mean, I don't think a healing system in a game is very important.
All right, you ready for this?
You
You ready for this? The Fortnite healing system is more immersive than the Resident Evil 7 one. Me crouching
I'm gonna be
and
real,
putting
I
the
don't-
bandage
I
over
don't
my arm
want-
makes more sense in a healing term. Like, I'm doing
When-
the motion right now, like I'm getting that bandage on. Like, that makes more sense, like,
No, I
just
don't
in
want-
reality,
Like
than alcohol poured on my arm.
when I want a healing system, I want to like, especially like a game kind of like that. I just want to do it, get it done with. Cause like I mean, at least you're open for a few seconds, which is nice. Cause like at least you're not immortal like doing it, or just it's free heals.
Okay.
But I don't want like some super in-depth healing thing. I just want to get it over with, you know.
But for a horror game where the whole idea is to get so immersed that you actually feel like you're Ethan and get scared, and then he just pulls a bottle out and just starts fucking like lubing up his whole like fucking severed arm.
Yeah.
That's a little ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie.
I definitely see problems with this game. And I don't really see that as a big problem, but I do see the flaws of this game. The reason it is as high as it is because it opened me up to so many games. Because like when I was like really young, I never played horror games. I like would watch them and like be a little piss baby in my bed watching them. But Resident Evil 7 has opened me up to playing and turning horror into like my favorite like genre almost.
It definitely has merits. Like the switch to like fully first person definitely helps the experience. But of course, obviously, I prefer older Resident Evil. But I can see the merits that Resident Evil 7 is going for, and I think the opening for Resident Evil 7 is really good. I just think it kind of stumbles a lot,
Colby,
a few too many times for me.
I think you get off lucky here. If I had a good refresher of what RE7 was like, and just like if I could just play it for like a few hours,
Do you want
we'd-
something? Do you want something to attack me about? Because I have a very hot take.
I mean, you can go for it.
I think Resident Evil 4, when they remake it, I think they should make it first person.
No,
I said it.
absolutely not.
I just said it.
No. Me and Phil, we're throwing hands right now.
I just said it.
Ah, nah.
I would actually hate them if they did that.
I haven't
I-
played RE4, but
I know
RE4 means so
I've-
much to me.
It's
I've
such a
also-
good game. It
I've
is.
also played RE4 in VR. Absolutely loved it. Didn't like it as much as out of VR, but I think if they're going to try to make this remake like more horror like based,
That wasn't the point of RE4 though. RE4
Well,
is like parody of more
that's what
than
that's
horror.
kind of what they're going for with the remake. I've heard is that they're gonna like add more horror aspects to it, and I think Resident Evil should take the jump into just making their games first person. They have proven that
Maybe
they
as
can
an
do it.
option. Like if it was an option, sure.
I want to see what they do with it. I feel like it could really work out. Like I am in for the ride. I am completely down to see how Resident Evil 4, the amazing game that it is, I want to see how it holds up if they were to make such a huge jump for it. I think it would really hold up.
When you put people in a first-person game, in a horror game, like they're trying to do with RE7 or R8, you're like definitely restricting many aspects of the camera that benefit the player when it's over the shoulder and the tank
Like
controls of
Dead Space?
RE4. Yeah.
Did you guys play Dead Space?
Yeah, Dead Space does a lot of like
Dead Space
atmosphere.
There's a lot of great stuff with the third-person camera. as well.
So there's ways that you can definitely do it. I think that them as a designer should do a hybrid system where they find ways to utilize both. That would probably be something
That would
good.
be good.
I don't know. I haven't played RE4, so if I ever get to that, which I really should.
Very good. I would say it is definitely gameplay and story-wise better than 7. It just doesn't mean as much to me
Right.
as 7 does.
But either way, I think if I had a refresher on RE7, I'd be tackling a little difficult. But for now, you can rest assured, RE7, a decent pick at number 8. We get to slide over to the Nintendo universe and slap on some Odyssey.
Yes, sir. As a Mario guy, growing up, I love Mario, my fair share of Mario games. Odyssey was a really cool rendition of a Mario game. They really... Well, actually, I should first mention, before I talk about movement, mention one of my honorable mentions in Mario Sunshine.
Wow.
Phenomenal Mario game.
Respect.
The movement in Mario Sunshine was very unique, with the adaptation of having FLUDD on your back, being able to use the water to move quickly or do tricks in the air and stuff like that was super cool. Mario Odyssey, obviously a much newer game, has a even better movement system in my opinion. The fact that you can use your cap to kind of do bunch of jumps in the air, jump off your cap, everything is super cool. And I feel like every time as I kept playing, I would learn new ways to jump higher or jump further or move quicker. And that was a really cool thing for me. I also like the fact that there was a linear path, but there was also so much like random challenges and like missions and stuff that you could do on the side. There was some of them were just as straightforward as ground pounding in an area where that looked suspicious, but others would be longer side quests, I guess you would say. Everything aesthetically is great. The I don't know how many worlds there are, 10, 15, are all super fun, super uplifting, but then there's also the dark worlds that are fitting for their point. It's also cool in the moon areas towards the end of the game. What else? The music in this game is very good as well. Jump Up Superstar is a banger. And I really liked that they went for a metro kind of city area as well. That was a cool little thing. The one thing that I didn't like about this game was, as I was going for 100%, getting all the moons and purple coins, there was a fucking jump rope game that you had to get 100 jump ropes on to get a moon, and it was so hard.
I hate that game so much.
It took me forever to get that one moon, and I'd do it for like an hour, and I'd be like, what is my life? Like, why am I jump roping in a video game for hours? And I was just so pissed because I was sitting there with like every moon in the game except for that one. But the game as a whole was very good. Obviously not a super difficult game being a Mario game, but definitely fun, definitely a more impressive addition to the Mario series. So for that reason, I have it at number 8.
Sweet. And topping off the 8th tier, Final Fantasy XII is our first FF inclusion. So for me, FF12 was a game I played with my dad when I was like a very wee lad. Like we're talking like 4 or 5, maybe 6, around there. I don't remember. And I just watched him play it, and I probably watched him play it for like hours upon hours. By the time I had gotten my hands on it on the PS2, I was absolutely in love with this game. There was so much that I got to experience for the first time in an RPG exploration that I never got to experience quite like it until like recently. Like games like Elden Ring sort of have a very, very small but similar resemblance to what FF12 tried to do. Coming out in like 2003 or 4, it came out. Oh no, that's terribly wrong. When did FF12 come out?
2006. I'm not sure.
Oh no, I screwed up the Discord. Hold on. Let's go. I know.
I can look it up for you.
I should
What
have
are you
done
looking
that. The release year for FF12.
I'll look it up for you.
It's 2006.
Oh, I was right.
Damn it, I was wrong. But I wasn't wrong that bad. So that's fine. So it really struggled with things like graphics and filling out all the massive areas, but in certain areas where they didn't have to make it massive, like some of the plains, the desert areas, you create these fun and enriching environments with enemies that have an abundance and variety of different skills and weapons to go through. And in a strictly world building point, the exploration for the main quest is great. It takes you through every single area in the game. It takes you through a bunch of different areas in the game, but allow you to go through some, if not all, of the special and secret areas to unlock all of the better items and stuff. There's a few repetitive dungeons. The tower towards the end of the game is probably one of the worst areas. But finally, I can get into the best part of FF12, which is the customization. The license board is one of the coolest ways to unlock abilities, because not only do you get to I guess I'm jumping the gun here, but the license board added a great variety to what you could do with each of the characters, and it didn't get fully optimized until the Zodiac Age release, which created the job system, and the job system finally refined FF12's customization to its peak. And this made it so that instead of just equipping the best items in the game for each character, now you're having customizable options that have you utilize the best of each world, where you have either the foe breaker, the Ulan, the archer, the mechanist. All of these classes do different things that have different debuffs, buffs, different abilities. It's really fun going through all the items. The linearity of the items get changed through the effects that each of them have, from giving you protect to absorb to certain abilities that help you fight bosses later on. The gambit system is one of the coolest systems in a game. It basically allows you to code each of your character's moves. It's like it's incredible to me that FF12 has one of the best teammate functioning systems ever created in a video game, yet especially in FF, there are heavy flaws with how teammates and allies and player abilities work. Like from the 13s to not so much 15, but another one we'll talk about later. This really made it impossible to not create the perfect scenario for all of your allies for every single situation you fight in, and it was awesome to be able to have that much control. The espers made the license board variable. You could unlock certain abilities that other boards had that you didn't have access to. There was a few espers towards the late game that were really difficult to get, and the puzzles weren't the worst in the world. A lot of them are fetch questy. Like you have the job hunt system, where you just find a guy, go kill a guy, come back to the guy, get reward. And depending on how early you do it, you can get rewards ahead of time. Most of the time, they're always really good rewards doing the hunts, unless it's like really early game. But yeah, I think FF12 did so much for Final Fantasy that they really didn't do too much with it after. The only comparable game is FF14, but that's in its own completely different world that FF12 would never be able to reach, obviously. So it's upsetting. If I liked FF15 more, I'd probably be calling that game similar in some of the ways that FF12 does the exploration that I like. I didn't like that game too much, so I can't say it does nearly anything that I'd like to say FF12 doesn't. But I really like this game. I guess this is still somewhat of a nostalgia pick, but I'll defend FF12 to the death of me. I don't know if any of you guys have much experience with it. It's kind of niche.
I do not. I have a very limited experience in Final Fantasy.
From what I've seen and briefly played, it seems like a very good pick. I haven't played too many Final Fantasy games, but out of the ones that I know of and I've at least dabbled with, this is definitely one of the better ones.
I'm deeply intrigued by Final Fantasy 12. I can't give the main reason as to why yet, but this is definitely up there for like games that I want to play because, like Justin said, the systems in this game are really fucking cool, and that alone makes me want to play because I love stuff like that. So this is definitely a high priority for me to get to.
All right, and now tier 7.
Oh, brother, I'm about to get jumped by the whole call again.
Is it time for the
It's like,
jumping?
this fucker still has 3 stocks.
Oh no.
Yo, what the hell, bro?
We have myself with Twilight Princess, Colby with Danganronpa, Tyler with Nier Automata, and Quent with Twilight Princess.
Put Danganronpa on the list. Holy shit.
Wait, hold on. I'm not gonna get jumped?
Yeah,
No,
Quent
you're not
really
getting jumped by
likes
me. We're fucking
Danganronpa.
best friends right now. Let's fucking go. This is the greatest day of my life.
I guess you guys can go ahead and start there.
All right, dude. I'm very glad to be on, like, not the fucking electric chair right now. So this game came out, or not came out. This game came out a long time ago, but for me, this game came at the perfect time. This is when COVID started, right? And school just ended. I had all the free time in the world, and I saw this game. I was like, bro, this bear looks funny as fuck. So I picked it up, and man, this game is... You can give it shit for, like... This isn't a game. This is a book. Like, I'll admit. But the characters of this game, they're all, like, really good if you, like, you know, spend your time with them. Like, they're all, like, all fleshed out in their own, like, unique ways. The game's funny. The story's really good. Like, I know there's a lot of people that, like, have their problems with it, but I like it. I like the trial system, like how all that works. Like, I got very invested in this game. And, you know, another big thing, the music and the style of this game are also phenomenal.
Yes, sir.
Like, I don't really think there's anything about Danganronpa, even like as a whole, that I don't like. Like, they're just really entertaining games. And if you're in for, like, a long story with, like, you know, like, a lot of it, yeah, you won't really be playing game. You'll just be, like, reading it because it's, like, kind of like a visual novel. But it's very good story if you just give it the time to tell its story. And I find that absolutely great about it.
Which games are you referring to? Which games are you referring to?
Danganronpa, they're like the first one.
Just the first one? Okay, I was...
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, this is the first one.
Yeah,
Each one of them has a
this-
subtitle,
Mm-hmm.
like except the first. Well, it has a subtitle. It's called Happy Trigger Havoc, I
Yeah,
think.
Trigger Happy Havoc.
Yeah, something like that.
Gonna be honest, I didn't know if I
yeah.
was cutting off the title. I didn't know if Excel was cutting off.
Yeah,
the
no,
rest
no.
of
This
the,
is just the first one.
Right, okay.
I do the second and third are also really good, and they tie in very well to the first one. But I think that the first one has much more to like about it. For me personally, I think this one is the best of the three.
I fucking love this game. It has like the coolest setting I think I've seen in a while for like
Mhm.
the kind of disturbing,
cool setting.
weird. The setting's awesome. Every single chapter in this game presents a new plot
Oh,
twist.
dude, what's great about this is I went into this game not knowing what it was
Yeah,
about.
I didn't either, and it was
I
fucking
didn't know
great.
it. I did not know what this game was about. I knew about the bear. I knew about Monokuma,
Yeah,
and that was literally it.
that's all I knew too. And I played this game recently too. Like I played in 2021.
And
So.
God damn it, they killed off every character I got close to. It was great.
This game is the peak of visual novels because it has really good riveting gameplay. If you're someone who loves thinking about stuff, like if you're a critical thinker and you love unraveling mysteries,
Oh, yeah.
this is your kind of game right here.
This game is very like, very story based with, like the sense of it's kind of like a mystery. It's a murder mystery game.
It's constantly
So
it's always presenting a new mystery every chapter. It's fucking
Every
great.
chapter, you got like a new whodunit pretty much, and you got to figure it out, put all the pieces together. You do all the investigation and everything. It does a very good job at making you feel like you are the main character doing this. Like you can spend your free time, kind of like games that we will talk about later, Persona, where like you can spend free time with characters of your choosing, and you can like grow bonds with them. And then it just sucks all the more when that character could die by the end of the game. Like it is very good, and like it's very different for each player, because like one person might get into it and love said characters, like said like few characters, and get really close with them and love them, and then they're gonna die, and like it's it can be like emotional for that person. It's like it's just so good. And like all the characters are very likable, except for like two of them, which I have very big problems with. But
I agree. There's definitely two characters in this game I hate, but this game fucking understands extremely well what stakes and payoffs are, and that alone makes it worth playing for anyone who enjoys any sort of thing like that. So definitely, it's not an honorable mention, but this is one of the games that I always keep quiet on until I find someone else who likes it, because a lot of people like to rag on this game for no reason.
a lot of people hate on it.
But this game's fucking great, so I'm really happy to see it on this list.
All right. Well, do you have something else? Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna kind of like close it out too, but that's all I have to say. I love this game.
Well, on that note, we can swap over to the combo pick. Quent and I have chosen Twilight Princess. I love how you got more excited over the Danganronpa
Well,
pick
I'm
than the
equally
Twilight
excited
Princess
for
pick.
Dude, I in a million years, I would never expect any of us to put Danganronpa on a
Yeah,
list.
bro, we're a rare breed. I thought I was getting jumped for this.
Nope, ain't no way.
I haven't touched it. I think I touched the second game for like...
Because I told you to.
I think
hated
you're
it.
right. I played like 3 minutes of it, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I also am under. I'd be able to go back to it and try it again. No,
It's
I'd
okay.
it's
It's definitely
it's
hard
worth-
to get into.
Worth
but
the try. It's long though. I'd say at the least it doesn't do it justice as much, but even just watch the first season of the anime.
Mm-hmm.
Because
don't watch the anime. It's terrible.
It's
Just
bad.
watch
It's-
someone
it's-
play it.
Even that works.
Right. That'd be something I'd be doing. But either way, we can swap over to Zelda. Twilight Princess is a nifty little game that broke a few barriers. This guy changed the sort of it decided to make the open world map much bigger. And with that came some really unique designed layouts throughout Hyrule. You go from the Forbidden Woods and the secrets in the Grove to the Volcano Manor with all the Volcano Manor.
Goron Mines.
Goron Mines with all these nifty little Gorons who they don't change over the time as you progress through the Goron Society, I guess you could say, through wrestling, to Snow Peak ice sledding, which I had a blast when I was younger, not so much when I was older, but there was Gerudo Desert, which I have a better opinion on now. I think Gerudo Desert's a really cool layout, and the design's really nice. I love the Arbiter's Grounds. I actually had fun going through it the last time I did it with you in the randomizer, Quent. And the City in the Sky aesthetically is fucking sick. I love looking at that. I think when I was younger, it was my favorite goddamn dungeon. And I had a lot of fun with Twilight Princess, and it's up there for me for a lot of reasons that sort of, I think it does the formula for Zelda the best. I'm not an Ocarina of Time guy. I think some of the dungeon designs in TP, from just the water temple to late game Arbiter's Grounds, Snow Peak Ruins, is just a lot more fun, enjoyable. I think the puzzles are more well designed. The items are a lot more fun. There's a few that don't get enough light of day, but I don't mind it as much when it comes to a game this old. Think about how much they could have done with Twilight Princess within regards to what Breath of the Wild can do. It's really cool to think of what a linear Zelda will be like one day. However, Breath of the Wild's gonna stay, so we'll be talking about that soon enough. And then Twilight Princess overall took the story to some pretty cool heights, I'd say. There isn't anything too groundbreaking from the typical Ganon formula, but Zant's edition's great. I don't like the Palace of Twilight too much.
I also hate the Ganon ass pull near the end. I wish they would have kept Zant as the villain.
I actually love the 4-stage Ganon fight. I don't like the fights.
Oh,
the first
I
two.
love the fight.
Yeah,
the fight's awesome.
I had so much fun when I would just.
It's probably the most thematic Ganon fight.
It's my favorite. The 4th stage is my favorite Ganon fight. It's not close.
Me too.
And so the stuff like that puts it above some of the other fights. Like I'd rather do Star-Lord spinner fight than like half the bosses in Ocarina of Time. Stuff like that can just make the overall experience more enjoyable and have very specific memories that are more memorable than others. Twilight Princess ranks really high for me.
I love the tone of Twilight Princess. It's a much darker, grittier Zelda experience. It transforms. It feels like a much more natural evolution from Ocarina of Time than Wind Waker. And while I do like certain aspects of Wind Waker, I do think that Twilight Princess more so took what Ocarina of Time did and just improved it. One thing about Twilight Princess that's especially interesting is that it's one of the only Zelda games that doesn't have a magic meter. This incarnation of Link is a farmhand, so a lot of things that he does is based on strength. And every item that you get in this game reflects that, and I think that's really cool, and it's very consistent with the character that they introduce you to with this particular incarnation of Link. Midna is probably my favorite Zelda character of all time. That might be like a really like common opinion, but she has some great development.
Location.
Midna's an awesome character. She gets some great development. She starts out kind of like the typical tsundere archetype where she starts acting very cold and malicious, but over time she becomes a lot softer and more. She depends more on Link as the story goes on, and I think it's a really cool dynamic. And God, this I could talk about this game all day. Obviously, I can't. We'd be here forever. But this is a great game. Everything that Justin said, I completely agree with. I like Ocarina of Time probably more than Justin does, but like Twilight Princess is way better to me because it just does more, in my opinion. The story's better. The Ganon fight, like we mentioned, it's not even close. It's the most greatest fucking fight in Zelda almost. It's fucking brilliant. The only bad thing about Twilight Princess is the Wolf Link Tears of Light segments.
Yes.
Those can drag on for a really long time. But if you can get past the Wolf Link parts and the the Twilight Realm stuff, you are in for one of the best Zelda experiences of all time.
And on that note, the second.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to make a point on Twilight Princess because I was literally about to say this Zelda would be on this list for me if it wasn't for the wolf segments. Because I think the dungeons are very good in this game. I really like the unique items in this game, like the spinner. It's a super fun Zelda title, but it's the wolf segments where I was just like, dude, I don't want to do this. Like, I was just like, I don't know. It was very, what's the word? It dragged on for me. And for that reason, I don't have it on this list. But if those were taken out, this would 100% be here for me.
Colby, have you touched Twilight Princess?
I have never had the chance to, no.
It's 7 more hours.
Should I mention?
Really want to, but I've never had a chance.
Should I mention my honorable mention? Because I have a Zelda honorable mention.
Give it like one more tier.
Okay.
We can then go to the second entry of Nier. Tyler's got Automata at 7.
That's pretty low, dude.
Well, you'll see what I have up there. This was hard for me because I had it higher at first, and then I was just like, and I kept kind of moving it down. But unlike Replicant, this is a phenomenal game. I really liked how, just comparing it to Replicant, there was a more variety in the enemies you're fighting. The differences in combat between the 3 characters that you can play as. But other than that, there's, again, phenomenal soundtrack. The story is phenomenal. I really enjoyed kind of collecting all the 26 endings, getting all the one for each letter of the alphabet. I thought that was really cool. Cool way to do it.
Shoutouts to me and you both finishing the whole fishing encyclopedia.
Yep. This was one of the... Well, actually, funny enough, Super Mario Odyssey and this game are 2 of the only games that I've 100%ed. And I mean, a lot of games I don't have the motivation to, but because I like these games so much, I went through the trouble. I thought some of the side quests did drag on a little bit, but obviously they're side quests and you don't have to do them all, so I'm not going to dock it for that. And I did enjoy some of the side quests as well, so... But the story itself is great. I liked how some of the endings were meme endings. Like, you could just run away and it'd be an ending.
Yeah,
like,
you just kill the entire Pascal's village.
Yeah, some great stuff. The combat was great. And I love how everyone that I've talked to about this game has different opinions on who they like better. I'm pretty sure Justin is 2B. I think Maddie B was A2, and then I was 9S.
Oh,
I really
9S. Let's go.
I really like the 9S stuff, and I think what he goes through is like I felt for him.
I'm definitely a 2B kind of guy. Not
Let's
gonna
go.
lie. So Justin, here we go.
That's fair.
She had the
That's
best
fair.
scene in the show. The show. Fuck.
The
should
show?
be
I mean, it is
Almost,
giving a show, and it's gonna be
almost.
dog
Wait,
shit, but
wait
yeah.
until October.
Oh my god, stop. No, I'm terrified.
We're watching it.
We can. I'm down.
All four of us,
but
we're just
I'm,
gonna sit here
I'm
and watch
scared,
it.
bro. Everything that comes out's bad now.
It
Alright.
kind of is.
Well, we'll be talking about Automata a bit more later.
I figured.
So
I have
we
to say
can
something real quick.
Go for it.
This is in my honorable mentions in your Automata. It's not on my list. I'm just gonna reveal that now.
Damn.
However, I'm gonna say one thing because this is my favorite story ever told in a video game ever. That's all I'm gonna say.
Good luck justifying
That's a good shout.
the next 10.
No. I'm very confident here with my statement.
But that's fine. We'll be having more Automata conversations, and we want to get through this next one fasty foo, so we can get to the next portion.
Beef.
The beef.
The beef.
The 6th tier list portion begins with Quent with Final Fantasy VII, Tyler with Elden Ring, Colby with Persona 4 Golden, and myself
Wow.
with Breath of the Wild.
Colby's base is fuck. Holy shit.
I will begin
Fuck.
with Breath of the Wild, because I'm going to keep it brief. This installment of Zelda was wild. This hit everyone like a
Nice
truck. And it was another wild truck. And so all of this combined for one of the coolest culminations that the Zelda developers could have thought of. I'm glad they wanted to design something so crazy that didn't follow the formula that all of the Zeldas sort of crafted, but took all of the concepts and applied them differently. There's concepts that exceed, like the Sheikah Slate, and the way that the shrines interact with the base Sheikah Slate, and then the advanced techniques that you can slowly learn. And those shrines are leveled out throughout the world in terms of when you'd reach them, so everything's paced super consistently. The dungeons are sort of oriented in that you can explore all these areas, figure out the story behind them through basically small triggers throughout these areas that have people interact with you, or you find items, and then eventually you can get into these divine beasts, and these divine beasts have really cool moral and thematic implications. It's basically how everyone was like gonna stop Ganon, and a big calamity happened 100 years ago and everyone failed, and you're now waking up after it. The story takes some of the biggest turns, like the idea that Link failed is sort of the theoretical conclusion to some of the timeline stuff. And Majora's Mask is sort of a weird, dark version.
I definitely loved that. I definitely loved the fact that this game is the result of Link already losing.
I think it's a great inclusion because it adds a thematical, moral, and situational importance to Link, where he has to save individuals who've suffered from this. He has to right he has to overcome the misgivings of his friends and family and people. He has to basically overcome all odds, and the game presents the world in a way that lets you tackle these odds in so many different ways, and I loved it.
Or you could say fuck all that and go fight Ganon.
Exactly.
Immediately.
It's great.
Immediately.
It's such a nice idea that's there.
I love that Link ass naked can go and run up the
There's a video
Ganon
on
with a
it.
stick.
Yeah, the speedruns in this game are so cool to watch. It's fascinating with the way they designed this game. And then you look at the details that they put in for what you do for when you actually get through every single detail, find every single memory. Tracking down the locations for those memories can be like one of the best conclusions to the game, because I remember, I mean, I guess if you like Korok hunt, I don't know what else you guys finish with, like shrine huntings.
Yo, you should do that and figure out what the reward is. It's really worth your time.
Oh yeah. Shoutouts to all of us who have found every Korok seed and have been equally in despair for 3 to 6 weeks afterwards.
Yep.
Well, the good news is these little mini puzzles and shrines and everything we do are built so well that even when we're not getting the reward, there can be satisfaction in what the concept and the progression of us overcoming from small to large obstacles. This game does it all so well. Let's not get too far into it. We'll be getting more takes later on. We can jump right into a Persona game. Colby, give us your golden experience.
Bro, this game is so good. And granted, I don't think it's the best one in the franchise, little spoilers, but this game is everything I love in a game. It's a nice long JRPG. The characters are every single one of them are lovable in their own way. I love the Persona franchise. I love like the dungeons of it. I like the turn-based combat. I feel like Persona has the best turn-based combat that I've played, at least. I love, all the Personas, everything. Like this game, Persona 4 Golden, has so much personality to it in absolutely everything you can do. It's funny, it's sad, it's serious. Like it's just a roller coaster of emotions throughout. I would be completely lying to you if I said that there was not a specific scene of this game that may or may not have beaten a tear out of me.
Oh yeah.
Like this game it's beautiful, and we've said this a million times, but it's something that's very important to me. But the music to this game, there is not a bad song. Like every single song is so beautifully crafted, and it just fits so much into the style of this game. And like that's a big thing with Persona games, is it's very like stylish. They're just amazing games with amazing stories. Like I wish I could experience this game again for the first time.
I have not played P4G, but if there is another individual that would like to give their P4G.
Yeah, I'll give one. Just like Colby said, this game's fucking amazing. Definitely the runner-up for Persona for me, as far as like which one's the best. However, this is going to be probably one of the hottest takes in this podcast. I think Persona 4 Golden has my favorite cast of characters in a Persona game ever. It's close. I'm not going to say it's not close.
It is very close.
The chemistry these characters have,
ridiculous. I will say they do feel a lot more just like a group than the others do. Like they feel much more like just a group of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are a very good and dynamic cast who all serve their own purpose and all feel very important to their team.
Exactly. So Persona 4 Golden. So if you don't know, because I know Tyler and Justin probably don't know, but Persona 4 Golden is an evolution from Persona 3's gameplay. So it's a more refined version. It's quite a bit different from Persona 5. So in Persona 4
simpler.
It's a bit more simpler, but it has like some weird gimmicks. Like, so every time you win a battle, you get these cards, and they get shuffled. And when you pick one, it has a certain effect. Like sometimes you get healed, sometimes you get more money, sometimes you get
that mechanic is I didn't really like.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I didn't pay too much attention to it.
Yeah, I didn't really mind it. It was whatever. Like it happens. I think at the end of every battle almost. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, that's fine. Just spam through it and get it over with pretty much. The rest of the game is amazing. It's got a great story. It's got great characters. It's got one of my favorite settings. It's definitely very reminiscent of a specific show that I've referenced already on this podcast, JoJo. Um, but yeah, really good, really good. Definitely runner up for me for like Persona games, but it's also not on my honorable mentions. But it's close, just like most of the games on this list are.
All right, let's slide over to the equipment of gold, the circular.
This is a forced transition.
10 segues.
Let's hear it.
Crown, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, a ring.
And
Yes,
eight
you got it.
golden
You got
red.
it. You got it. All right.
All right. Well, Elden Ring, definitely the most recent game that I've played. That probably all of us have played. This game for me was amazing. I feel like as someone who didn't have much, if any, Dark Souls experience before, this felt very inviting to new players compared to some of the older titles. It definitely allows you to play. It's still difficult oriented, but you can play it at whatever difficulty you want. You can kind of over level yourself. You can use certain weapons. You can use certain abilities. You can make a build, whatever you want, and you can play it however you want. And I think that's really a well done system for a game like this, because if you're an experienced Dark Souls player and you like the up close and personal combat and you're used to that and that's what you want to stick with, then you can go for it and fight some bosses head on early on so that you get a more difficult challenge. Or if you're a newer and unexperienced player, you can kind of take your time and do some side stuff and practice with different builds, different abilities, different weapons, and see what you like. We also played this, obviously, since we've on Justin's channel, there's some videos, but we've played this multiplayer as well. This was the one that Justin was arguing is a multiplayer game. I would have to say that is false. I think 97% of people that play this game play it solo player.
Yeah.
So that's why I have it on this list. I know, Justin, you played it solely multiplayer, so I understand where you're coming from. But I do think that pretty much everything about this game was a very good experience for me, and it's gotten me into the From Software game type, and I want to play more of their titles, especially future ones, because I've always wanted to get into Dark Souls, but I always felt that the stuff was clunky, and I always had other games that I'd be playing or wanting to play, and then I'd be like, I don't really feel like digging time into this to learn the combat system. I'd rather just go play a different game. With Elden Ring, I felt very inclined to get used to it, and I mean, it felt nice, and now that I'm into it, I feel like I could go back to a Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, and have a much easier time integrating myself into that game. With this game in particular, I know there's a lot of issues with kind of, I don't know, like side quests, like not kind of knowing. It's very figure it out on your own. And that is an issue, but I think with this type of game, that's kind of what they're going for. It was, for quality of life reasons, a little annoying, but I didn't mind it too much. I think the lore was more of a factor rather than the actual like story of it, and the gameplay as well was more of a factor for a game like this. So for that reason, I really did not mind as much, and it was always fun fighting like some boss that you're struggling with for hours and hours and finally beating it, and it would always feel great. So for that reason, I had to put it on my list.
Elden Ring was a great time. I loved it. I had a blast. Like I said, mostly multiplayer for me. So that was where I enjoyed the most fun. All of the bullshit that Dark Souls can throw at you is repulsed by multiplayer. And accepting the game's inability to fully be able to handle multiplayer and still enjoying every single facet of it. I had a blast with Elden Ring. It doesn't make my list. It's an easy honorable mention if I had made
It is
any.
also my honorable mention. I almost had it on the list.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on my list. It's not on my honorable mentions. However,
Fuck this game. No, I'm kidding.
no, this game is fucking amazing.
I know, I'm just kidding.
There's certain things about this game though that I can't get past because of my own personal reasonings. They're not good reasonings at all under any circumstance, but it's just a me thing, so don't worry about it. This is a great game. I played it by myself, liked it, played it with friends, fucking loved it with friends especially. Great ass game.
Indeed. And to top it off, somebody's got a secondary Final Fantasy game. Let's see it.
Final Fantasy VII is a masterpiece.
Hey bro, no spoilers. I'm only on the remake.
That's true.
You guys are all remake boys.
Yeah, all three of us.
So I'll try and keep it as vague as possible. This game means a lot to me. It's definitely a nostalgia pick because I played this game all the time with my dad when I was a very young boy. Of course, I was kind of a scaredy-ass little bitch, and this game frightened the hell out of me, so I didn't ever finish it until I got a lot older. Now that I'm older, I appreciate the darker themes and visuals a lot more. It really resonates with me a lot. I can't go into the story because that'd be huge spoilers. However, I will say that the story is really, really something special, and I really love it a lot. And when you guys, in the next 50 years, finish the Final Fantasy VII Remake series,
Dude,
we can talk about it.
I am so hyped for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 5 for them to finish up the
2050?
halfway point. I can't wait for the halfway point of the story.
But this is a great game. The one thing that this game I love the most, besides the story and the music, because the music's fucking stellar in this game, but the materia system in this game is absolutely impeccable. So every character is sort of a blank slate, which doesn't make them feel too special. However, that is what the materia is for. So materia replaces the older sort of systems that were in older Final Fantasy games, like class skills, like for example stealing or throwing stuff. Materia takes place of all this. They also take the place of certain other abilities and magic. And the more you use them, the more they level up, the more stronger they get, which gives you a really strong reason to continue using the same materia. And that's like the best part. Being able to customize your characters however the hell you want to fulfill certain roles for your team is a lot of fun, and there's a lot of combos and a lot of variety, especially at the end of the game where it gets absolutely insane and super fun. So FF7 is an amazing game. And I can't wait to hear your guys' takes on FF7R because we'll actually be able to openly discuss that a bit more because I've seen the story of that one. But overall, this is a fantastic game.
You think we put FF7R in our top 5?
Oh, gee,
Who
I
the
really
fuck would do
wondered.
that?
That'd be
Dude,
pretty
not in
stupid.
a million years. I wouldn't even put it as my number 5.
All right, boys. It is finally time for the fun segment. Everyone but me gets to have a go at this. Now, we have 4 lists left, 20 picks total, sectioned off by each of us. You will get the opportunity to guess 3 of that person's list.
What?
Once,
Explain again.
yes, so here's how it works. You get to guess one of the... we're going in a circle, so it'll be Colby, Tyler, Quent, Colby, Tyler, Quent. You'll be able to guess a game on someone's list.
Okay.
That person will not reveal that answer, but you'll get 3. And the way it works is every time you guess one, that guess is taken. So no one else can guess that for someone else's list. So for example, if someone guesses FF7R, they get FF7R for that person's list. And then they don't have to, and then no one else can pick that. And so you'll have 9 unique games guessed for anyone's list. You're just picking 3. And when we finish the video, if you remember which ones you picked, then that'd be a cool little thing to see who did good or bad on. And to balance it out, you only get to pick unique ones, so no one's guessing FF7R in everyone's list.
What about our honorable mentions? When should we do that?
We can do that. We can do that right now too. Go ahead. I don't have any, so you guys take the stage.
I have a few, but I've already mentioned one. But I'll go last.
I also already mentioned one, but I'll go quick because I only have 2 more that I wanted to mention. One of them, if I put extra thought into it, I might have put on this list, but I forgot about it until about 5 minutes before we started the video, and that was Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I decided to not put it on my list because I technically didn't finish the game. I only got to chapter 20 out of 21 or something on Dimitri. So funny enough, I actually didn't finish the game, so that's why I didn't end up switching it in there. But from what I've gotten so far, it is a phenomenal game, and kind of like Elden Ring, this game makes me more inclined to play previous and future Fire Emblem games because I was not a Fire Emblem person before this game. So big up there. And then the other game that I wanted to mention for the boys, Slay the Spire. Great fucking game. I play this for at least an hour a day, probably, before I go to bed. I'm currently grinding up to try to get to Ascension 20. I did it without beating the heart on every character so far, and on my heart runs, I'm about 10 on every character. Still struggling, but it's a great game, so thought I'd mention those 2.
Okay, I guess to sprint through mine, I can make it really quick, like 1-2 minutes. My honorable mentions, I only had 4. I definitely have way more, but I just didn't want to make it too long. I have Elden Ring is one, which of course, we've talked about fucking hours and hours worth of the other podcasts of why I love that game. My number 2 is kind of cheated here, but it's the Mega Man Zero collection. So all 4 games. I remember I had them on my DS as a kid, and I didn't even know that there were 4 different games because they have an easy scenario mode where you just play through all 4 of them. That game means a ton to me personally, and it was my first game that when I was really young that I kind of recognized as a story. For another one of my honorable mentions, I have The Binding of Isaac, just for the sheer amount of hours I have in that game.
Love that fucking game.
That game is just an absolute blast every time, even when it gets me really mad. And number 4, for my 4th honorable mention, I have Assassin's Creed 2, which was another game that was my first story that I recognized as a story. And I played that game forever as a kid. It didn't matter if I had done everything a million times and I was just running around killing people. I was having a ton of fun playing it.
Okay, so I have 5. I mentioned one of them before. It was Near Automata or Near Automata, however you want to pronounce it. I mentioned before, I'm going to keep it short for all these. Near Automata has my favorite story in all video games, which is crazy to say, but I really think it's fucking brilliant in every aspect. Next up is Bloodborne. Bloodborne is basically when I started becoming obsessed with From Software games. This game just captivated me, and I played it. And every single second that I played this game, I absolutely loved it. Just an absolutely brilliant game. I loved it way too much. Next is Super Mario Galaxy. This is my favorite 3D Mario platformer. This game, when I got it for the first time when I was a kid in 2007, I was over the moon, quite literally, because Mario goes to space. This game had so much personality. It was just the spectacle of it all for back in the day, on the Wii. It was really magical, and it still means a lot to me to this day.
All right, Quent.
What?
Before Galaxy 1 or Galaxy 2?
Probably both, but I specifically picked Galaxy 1.
I think a lot of people like Galaxy 2 better, but for me, it's Galaxy 1.
I love Galaxy 1 more.
Galaxy 1's better, in my opinion. It,
Yeah.
it has more of a nostalgia value for me as well, but I think I like the game better as well.
It's just like the presentation of it seemed so much more better. The Galaxy 2 seemed fine, but like, I don't know, it feels like, because like when you go to the first world in Galaxy 2, it's not like a space background, it's like clouds, it's like a normal world in Mario. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do love Galaxy 2, but it just feels like an afterthought. I mean, I get it. It was supposed to be DLC, but yeah, Galaxy 1's so much better in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there.
Next, I think this is number 4. Yep. Majora's Mask. If Twilight Princess didn't mean so much to me, I would pick Majora's Mask in a heartbeat. This game is incredible. It has one of my favorite worlds in Zelda of all time. Great themes, really dark story, amazing side quest structure. It's brilliant. The last game on my list is Super Metroid, because it's a masterpiece on the SNES. I prefer Fusion over it, but Super Metroid has a very special place in my heart, especially when me and Justin played the randomizer of it for like 2 years, 3 years now, constantly. So it means even more to me now than it did before the randomizer. So yeah, Super Metroid, masterpiece of a game. Definitely one of the peak Metroidvanias, but not my favorite. That was recently that got beaten. Hint, hint. Yeah, great game. And that's it for my honorable mentions.
I think I'd put Dread in my honorable mentions. It's not a long enough game for me to crack any of these boys, but that game was fucking fun as shit. And
Fair.
I also didn't do the randomizer aspect, so I think that puts it so much further. I think that once that randomizer gets like properly functioning, that might be so much fun. But either way, we can begin the cycle. So for obvious reasons, I cannot join this competition, as there is just too tough of advantage. But you three lads can start. We will go with Colby, Tyler, Quent. Colby, whose list will you like to guess at first?
I'm gonna take a shot at Tyler.
All right.
So I have to guess 3 of his.
You're guessing no. You are guessing 1, and you can guess the rank 2.
Okay. All right. I think Tyler's got number 1. I'm gonna say FF7 remake.
All right, and Tyler, slide over. You cannot use that title.
So, are we doing, like, I'm gonna end up doing one for Colby, Quent, and you? Is that what's happening?
You could
You can do anyone you want.
anyone you want, and you could probably do. Well, don't do 3. You could do 2 of the same person. Don't do 3.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go with you, Justin.
Okay.
And I don't want to be the obvious one though. No, I'm not gonna say the obvious one, and they're all obvious, but I'm gonna go with Automata for you, Justin, and I'm gonna say it's 4.
All right, and Quent.
I'm also gonna pick Justin. I think his number 1 is Persona 5 Royal.
All right, a double whammy.
That was the obvious one.
That was. I think we were all thinking that. Colby, now it is your turn. You've lost 2 more picks.
Okay. Yeah. Damn. That's actually like really. I'm gonna say. Okay, hold up. Let me think for a second. I'm going to say. This is gonna be completely out of left field, seeing as I still don't really know Quent too well. Quent, you definitely got Breath of the Wild at number 3.
All right, Tyler.
All right. I totally don't have insider information on this one.
Here it comes.
Quent, I'm going Dragon Quest 8.
You're such a bitch, Justin. You're such a fucking bitch. You're such a bitch.
What are you talking
Just
about?
Just a hunch.
What are you talking about? I did nothing wrong.
What rank is
My
it?
hands are not tied. He said rank 1, I think.
Yeah, number 1.
That's
All
a
right.
crazy read. How do you know that?
I don't know.
He's got.
We'll have to see if I'm right. I don't know.
Yeah, true.
Quent, your turn.
I'm gonna fucking jab back Tyler. I think. Oh God, I have no idea. I know it's gonna be on there. I think number 2 is gonna be Hollow Knight for Tyler.
Okay.
Ooh.
Colby.
All right, this is gonna be. I gotta think. No, you said you hadn't played that. I don't know. I don't know any other games that I think you guys might have played.
This is the last one you gotta scrounge together.
All right, Justin. I think your number 1 is actually Honey Pop.
Wow.
I mean, it was.
100%
Justin,
lock her in.
Here's the thing: is there actually 9 different games in our 20?
No,
So-
there's no way.
There
There's
might
3
not
games
be.
where I'll have the same. There's no way.
It is potential. It is.
I don't know. It's like really narrowing down now.
Because I have one more that I could say, but other than that, I'm not sure.
Do you want to
I
cut it
feel
at
like
6?
I have.
Do you want to
Well,
just
I
cut
feel
it
like
at
I
6?
definitely
then?
have one that I don't know if you guys would have.
We can. All right. For the sake of this, and the next thing we do is we can start that video with this format, and we can just use this like a little underbaked. We'll stop it at 6. We have
Respect.
Colby who guessed. You can just say it. You just say it. So
I guessed number 1, Tyler, is Final Fantasy VII Remake. I took a left field guess on Quent saying Breath of the Wild's number 3. And Justin, your number 1's Honey Pop, and I'm not hearing anything. Guaranteed locked in.
he
definitely on the
he gets a
list.
freebie third guess for the Hoonie Pop one. Tyler, go.
Mine was number 4, Nier Automata for you, Justin, and then number 1, Dragon Quest 8.
You're such a bitch.
All right, Quent.
For
what was
Whoever
yours,
gave
Sarah?
that away, you are a bitch.
Yeah, who the fuck would do that? All right, Quent.
I said number 1 was Persona 5 Royal for Justin, and then I said number 2 for Tyler was going to be Hollow Knight.
All right, perfect. And to the 5 we go.
Yeah, when I found
Go
out who
ahead,
docked my
yes.
list, I'm fucking. It's going to be like the movie
Dogs the
Taken.
list.
Hey,
You get
bro.
a phone call.
Hey, bro. It ain't me. You know
I know
that.
it wasn't. It was definitely Justin. He was probably drunk. He was like, "Yo, wait till you see Quent's fucking
And
list."
to begin, we have Quent with Dark Souls 3, Tyler with Hollow Knight, Colby with
Oh,
FF7R,
strong,
and
man.
myself with Dark Souls 3. I will
Wow,
begin.
you guys are on sync, Justin and
I
Quinn.
know,
Damn.
it's
Well,
pretty
we have the
impressive.
same taste in video games.
So I had a heated debate in my head if I could even call the Elden Ring single player experience for myself a top 10 game for me, and I was like, it's not even close, and I was like, yeah, so Dark Souls 3 doesn't come close to that. So Dark Souls 3 was one of my, if not, I wish I could remember my Dark Souls 1 experience more, but I love this above and beyond Bloodborne and Dark Souls 1, and Elden Ring's weird for me because I played that 97% multiplayer. So Dark Souls 3 overall gave me an incredible satisfaction for beating bosses like I've never seen. I still to this day remember dying just for days straight to the dragon lord or the Nemesis King.
Nameless King.
Nameless King, Nemesis King, the Nameless King. My God, these fights were some of the most memorable fights I've ever had. I love some of the areas. I think it does a better job at meshing more realistic areas. I don't know. Bloodborne does some crazy stuff that I actually really enjoyed, but I think some of the area design is just above and beyond the best. The weapons, the items, the balancing in a lot of the spells. I love it. It's great. Intellect once again is the lamest of the the magic boyos. But you can always find so much fun out of a lot of the melee builds. And again, obviously bows aren't the best either. There's just there's a lot to Dark Souls 3. Quinn, you got anything?
Yeah. So Dark Souls 3 came into a time in my life when it was really important. This game made me feel so much fulfillment every time I played it. Like what Justin said, every time you beat a boss in this game, it's probably the most fulfilling thing you'll feel for a while. And this game definitely helped me out a lot in that aspect. It definitely made me feel a lot more accomplished. It made me feel like I could accomplish things in my real life if I could overcome. I know that sounds silly, but like if you can overcome something so difficult in a game like Dark Souls 3, you could probably do something like that in your life too. So it was very inspirational when I played this game. The setting this is my favorite FromSoft setting of all time. It's a destroyed, decrepit, like at the very end of the cycle before the flame has to be passed on once again, and I thought that was an awesome concept. And you really get to see how messed up the world actually becomes before the fire's linked again, and it's just awesome. It's got great world building. Everything about this game just resonates to me on a level like it's unreal. Like everything about this game I just love. Like there's a few things in this game that aren't the greatest, definitely. What's that one? Fire Lake, I think, is one of them with the giant worms.
Yes, I do hate that area.
I didn't like that area very much, but otherwise, most of the areas were a lot of fun. Had that classic connection system with Dark Souls where everything... Well, no, not really, because Dark Souls 3, you kind of teleport everywhere a lot more. It wasn't as connected, a bit more linear. But it's still, like, within those areas, it still felt very connected and very
Fire Lake
well
Shrine
crafted.
feels very homely. It definitely...
Yeah, exactly.
The home base aspect is one of the better aspects of this game. I think it's good that you get to areas much faster. I do like the idea of Dark Souls 1 being like a trudge, like and Bloodborne to some extent being like, Bloodborne has a lot of really good spacing, but Dark Souls 1 went out of its way to give you like really long durations where you're like, all right, like you have to overcome these odds now, and then you'll get the bonfire. But I think Dark Souls 3, from the effort that's put into just about everything, it has that Elden Ring effect where you can feel that they really tried to do just about everything they could, from the DLC to how they implement the lore. There's so much to Dark Souls 3 that they refined in terms of the story and gameplay that sets it above so much. And even the PvP was just fun in this game.
Yeah,
it could be
fun.
It could be annoying. There's still so many gimmicks, but like this is the only game where I was like, wow, this PvP is so much fun. And like Elden Ring tried to even incorporate it as best it can. I mean, I played it mostly multiplayer, and even then there was so much PvP bullshit Elden Ring that I couldn't stand. I guess I didn't play Dark Souls 3 when it was released, so I didn't experience game-breaking shit, but like I played it variously throughout like a few years, and I could even enjoy most of the PvP. At least with multiple people, it could be extremely fun if you have like 2v2s, 3v2s, stuff like that.
Yeah, and you could do that. Dark Souls 3 definitely had its fair share of patches. Like there were a lot of really overpowered weapons that just beat any build in the game. Elden Ring, of course, had a similar issue, which they will fix.
Right. Okay. So I can't really give them brownie points for that, but it definitely. We'll see. Elden Ring should get to where Dark Souls 3 will get, and then we'll have higher points for Elden Ring.
Once
hopefully.
Elden Ring gets some DLC, which I'm like 100% certain it will, we could probably compare it a lot better then. But I played Dark Souls 3 after all the patches came out and after all the DLC, so of course my perspective is going to be a little bit different, because Elden Ring I'm able to see all the issues right from the beginning. Dark Souls 3 I got to see the most refined experience possible after all the patches. But putting that aside, Dark Souls 3 still means a lot to me, and it will always be my favorite From Software game, even if objectively Elden Ring is way better. Dark
I
Souls
don't
3
even
will
think
always
so.
be my
Like
favorite.
there's like the story and the implementation and the bosses and the design of the layout of the areas is so much better than Elden Ring. When you're fighting like Lordran and you know that you're fighting over the like the kingdom, the castle that you're at. I think it's like Lothric or whatever. Not Lothric. It is Lothric, right? I don't remember. Whatever
Yeah,
it is.
Lothric Castle.
And then you have Aldrich, who I don't remember the background by Aldrich, but there's a big story behind her, and like I think she like had some like cult going on or whatever. But God,
Dark Souls 3 also does a great job at like showcasing certain parts from Dark Souls 1 in Dark Souls 3. Like you go back to En Orlando in Dark Souls 3 and it's like really run down and snowing and it's really cool. It's got a lot of cool fan service like
yeah,
that as
like
well, I
visiting
think.
the graveyard over again too.
Mhm.
Like that stuff's really cool. But to continue on, we shall jump into our first Hollow Knight discussion. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, so Hollow Knight is the platforming aspect of Hollow Knight is the best in any game I've played or heard of, and I don't think it's close. Just the sheer amount of things at your disposal while moving around is not only super fun, but also just intuitive and really cool. I really like the idea of using your sword to bounce off of things that would hurt you, whether it's like buzzsaws or spikes or just enemies below you.
So
And
Tyler, you've never played Bubsy, huh?
I have
That
not,
fails.
Dang it.
but I'm just pointing out this one specific thing, obviously. But
Bubsy's
and I
super
like the inclusion of that in certain puzzle rooms. Like you'll have to use that mechanic like 20 times to get across a room, while also using all the other things at your disposal. And I know this is a hot take, but I really think that the White Palace is a really cool way of being like, hey, now that you have all these things to your disposal, show off how you can use all of them. And you're forced to use them in such a unique way. And if you hate super difficult platforming, you don't even have to touch it. So there's that too. And then not only that, but the boss fights, all the boss fights are fun. Definitely more on the challenging side, but I was a big Cuphead fan as well. Games like that, I think that those boss fights are super fun, and also similar to Elden Ring or even Dark Souls 3. It's the satisfaction piece of it after beating a boss that you're stuck on is super nice. The lore and everything is just really good. It's a kind of dark, more depressing game, but you really feel for these like characters that don't even really talk or like do anything, but I think that fits for the aesthetic of the game as well. Also the locations are like all over the place. There's definitely like the abyss and it's eluding me, the spider area. The deep nest is just, it's eerie, it's like dark, it's spooky, and I really like it. But then also like Queen's Path and like other places are more on the uplifting side. So I think for a 2D platformer, it definitely has it's like up there. I don't know if, I mean, as a Mario guy, I mean, this is just, the platforming exceeds anything that a Mario game has to offer. I don't even think it comes close.
Yeah. The platforming is amazing in Hollow Knight. It is extremely well done, and like all the levels and everything are all like very well crafted.
Yep. Like if you were to put 5 Hollow Knight players in a room and told them to get from one place to another, they'd all be able to do it in a different way.
Every single one will do it in some different way that you may not even have known is possible.
Exactly, and that's what's super cool about it. Again, not going off the rando at all, but Hollow Knight randomizers are pretty cool as well. So
Let's let's slide past the Hollow Knight takes to go into Colby's FF7R take.
All right, I'm gonna keep it brief because I feel like we'll talk. Feel like we will talk about the remake more later on. I guess just to kind of touch up on it, this is my first introduction into Final Fantasy, even as a whole. Like it's my first game, especially into 7. I really like this game. This and Danganronpa were my two COVID games that I played like when lockdown was first starting. It was a pretty rough time. Just overall, and this game, its story amazed me. I am craving to have any more at all. The music of this game is also an absolute masterpiece. The visuals and everything about it is just so much fun. Like I really loved this game. It's incredibly good. The characters are all amazing in their own like different ways. Like I just like this game really does mean a lot to me. It's great what it is. So I'll kind of just keep it vague, and we can go much more in depth on it once we run into it later on.
All right, boys, we have the 4th entry of our tier
This is
list.
the part of the list where games on my list I'm actually going to call masterpieces and I don't have a single problem with, just throwing it out there.
All right, boys, and on that
Kinda
note,
same, yeah.
here we go. Quent with P5R,
holy
Tyler with
shit.
P5R, Colby with Breath of the Wild, myself with Hollow Knight.
Just so in sync.
We do have a few masterpieces on our hands here. We can begin with my Hollow Knight take. Hollow Knight was a masterpiece for the Metroidvania genre. Sincerely, what they're gonna do with Silk Song, I cannot be more excited for, because this game took everything that you love in a Metroidvania, from sequence breaking to acquiring items earlier to finding new paths that you never knew existed, to creating shortcuts that make the world traversal easier, and satisfaction from defeating enemies and bosses. It does all of this to a phenomenal degree. And to top it all off, it puts an impeccable story that makes sense on so many different levels. You put together this big bug world that has all these not impressive characters, but characters that fill out roles in a society and civilization that's torn apart, that you're trying to figure out the mystery behind. And it's great because not only is the initial like journey and like figuring out what everything is, and the interactions with characters that you have for the first time that just feels so unique and different, and then that growth over the course of the game as everything begins to get infected and the people you know aren't people anymore, they're these things that just want to hunt and kill you, and the map layout starts to change and you have to find new ways to get to areas, and then you unlock areas you've never seen before that you're like, whoa, how does this fit on the map? Where did this come from? And you finally start solving all this mystery, and you finally crack this big egg and solve what you think would be the problem, only to realize that you didn't really fix the problem. You immerse yourself so much with this story that you get to a point where you're like, what? And you then realize how much more the game has to offer for you, and to finally feel the virtuous nightly goal that you try to set yourself out from the beginning that you didn't know could be so big and in concept and in reality. It's phenomenal. This stuff does so much well. It hits the beats on every plane. It's just great. I love Hollow Knight. I sincerely think that this game is, I don't know. It's so I'm glad I have it at 4, but the more that I think about it, it's nearly flawless. Like what is a massive issue that Hollow Knight has?
Geo grinding. That's it.
You really think they don't give you enough geo just throughout?
I didn't feel
No,
like
that
I
was a
didn't
joke.
feel
I'm
like I
totally
had to
being
grind.
I
Yeah.
think it was.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with it, like literally.
Right? Like I'm biased, and we're all probably a little biased. There's probably some things that people go, yes. Maybe there's some like adaptability
Some
errors.
people say that it's too hard and that it's really easy to get lost. That's like the 2 biggest complaints I hear from Holland.
That's a good one. Getting lost is a good one. If you don't have good senses of directions, then this can be a brutal time. I could totally see someone having to deal with that, but I don't know. I feel like being able to find directions in a video game that are extremely consistent and there's benefits that are helping you throughout with not only corner-first maps but the compass, and then like just going through the areas, you're experiencing them, and the experience alone will help you solidify memories of what these look like. So I don't know, I can see someone going into a couple rooms being like, fuck, I'm lost, where am I going, and then being like, I'm done, but they didn't even remotely give any of the processes that are helping you figure out where you are a chance. So stuff like that, like even then, I don't know, like, and I'm playing devil's advocate just because I love talking about this game in a good way. But either way, we must continue. There's so much more to talk about. Colby with Breath of the Wild, if you're feeling.
I am very interested in talking about this game. This game is it was my first game I got on the Nintendo Switch. I have like boundless amount of hours in this game. I don't even know how many I have put in. I've played this game so many times, and like I agree with like many of the things you said about it, or you guys said about it earlier. Like on a complete level, I love the story, and like how this is like the story of what happened after Link failed to defeat Ganon, and like I just love that this game is freedom. As stupid as it sounds, this game is like main selling point is that you are free to do whatever you want. If you want to do every single side quest and collect every single item and get all your health and best weapons in the game and then go fight Ganon, do it. If you want to spawn into this game and you want to run up straight up the gut of that castle and try and fight the final boss, go for it. You truly can do whatever you want in this game. And like, it still blows my mind the crazy like clips and stuff that show up on like Twitter or YouTube of people doing something that I didn't think would be possible. Like this game is so much fun, and just like if I'm ever just bored and not doing anything, a lot of times I pick up my Switch and I play Breath of the Wild. Like there's so much to do. I feel like I never could get bored of this game.
We can slide it over to the Persona boys, whoever wants to start that convo.
You or me?
Up to you. I'm fine. Whatever.
I'll go first, I guess. This game was very good. I guess since we have it the lowest, I guess I'll talk about the reasons why it wasn't in my top 3.
Mm-hmm.
First off, the story is great. Almost everything about the story was super engaging and super fun. The characters were fun. You get attached to the characters, everything about it. The issue that I had was there is a fuck ton of dialogue. Like, the next closest game is like 20 hours less of dialogue. It is absurd. And don't get me wrong, I think for a game like this, dialogue is fine. But there was a lot of cutscenes that were just kind of unnecessary, in my opinion. I did like the portion where you had to mingle with characters to get better relationships with them, which in turn gave you whether it gave you abilities or like helped you in battle. That was a really cool touch. but a lot of just random cutscenes on like certain days. I was just like, whatever. But a lot of it, just everything about it, other than that, is very good. Whether you're just going around, walking around the city, like one day you want to do a burger competition, one day you want to go to the batting cages, whatever it is, everything will benefit you in some way or another, and however you like to play, you can kind of push it towards that direction. If you like certain characters over another, you can strengthen your bond with them instead of other characters. If you want certain abilities, then you can focus on those characters that give you those abilities. And I think the combat system is great. I always compare it to a game like Pokemon because it's similar combat system, but I just think everything that Persona 5 does in the combat system is immensely better than Pokemon. It's not even actually comparable in my opinion, but it's a better system. You have to focus more on buffs and debuffs, focus on weaknesses of your opponents, everything like that. And the best part about the game, in my opinion, was the persona building. I would sit in that fucking menu for hours. I literally like hop on Persona 5 at like right before Palace and sit there for like 3 hours just building personas, and then I just get off. I wouldn't actually accomplish anything game-wise. I would just sit in the menu and then get off.
Bro, the Velvet Room was definitely my second game.
The
dude,
music just makes you want to stay.
Yeah, I don't want to take the spotlight here because I know all four of us have an opinion on this game, but the last thing I do want to touch on is the soundtrack is so good.
It's literally the best one.
It's
not even close for me. It's not even close. Like
it's so good.
There's so many amazing soundtracks. Persona 5 is like a mile ahead of all of them. All the other ones are pretty close and like beautiful in their own aspect, but Persona 5 is just it's all bangers.
That's big facts. I definitely have more to say, but all three of you probably want to jump in at some point, so I will let that happen.
The fact that Persona 5 is able to combine a daily slice of life type of game with a very engaging and immersive JRPG is brilliant at its finest. The fact that anything that you do in one place affects the other and vice versa, the way it's all woven together so seamlessly, it is just I can't even believe that they were able to do so much with it as they did. And like there's not a single thing that is not worth doing in this game. Everything has some sort of payoff or some sort of element that will make it worth doing, either to empower your character, deepening your relationships, going to the gym and working out to increase your stats, working to get more money so you can get better equipment. It all just coalesces so perfectly, and it's ridiculous. I love the story of this game. I think it's amazing. I think it does have one pothole, but not plot hole, but pothole, which is Humorous Palace. I think that was like, that's the lowest point of the whole game, and it's not even that bad. It's just the lowest point for me. I don't think the palace is even that bad, and I don't. The story aspect of it could be a bit better, but then right after you get Size Palace, which is like the peak of the entire game for me personally, and that's just like, wow, that is such an incredible part. Obviously, the soundtrack has been mentioned a few times. I listen to it daily because I love it so much, and it has such a specific vibe to it that can't be found anywhere else except in Persona 5. The style is perfect. All the menus have so much personality. The colors, like, that's another great thing, is that like the fact that Persona 5 focuses on the red and black color scheme and it works seamlessly with almost everything that it does is also pretty incredible. This game is a masterpiece, and it's only further pushed up on my list for me because Persona 5 Royal added possibly the greatest villain I've ever seen in a video game, which is Maruki.
Oh, he's so good.
That Maruki and that whole palace is just phenomenal, and it doesn't feel tacked on. Like when you play a game that gets an expansion of some sort, it usually feels tacked on and separate from the story. Persona 5 Royal is able to integrate the new story elements perfectly. The new character, Kasumi, is also integrated very, very well, and it feels very natural. It definitely feels different, but it feels natural. And it's my favorite JRPG all time, if we're not including nostalgia. So this game is definitely a masterpiece.
Alright, and now we begin to slide into the top 3. Who knows what shall show up? Will they be good games? Will they be bad games? No one knows.
Bad games confirmed.
Well, I mean, you know.
Quent with Hollow Knight, Tyler with Breath of the Wild, Colby with Nier Automata, and myself with Nier Automata.
Alright.
Yo, I don't want to mention.
Yo, does that say Breathe of the Wild?
That's a Breathe of the
Yo,
Wild.
there's 3 typos.
No. That's just Breathe of the.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, well, alright, well, why don't you go breathe on over what the fucking game's like? Yeah.
Alright. I think... I don't know. I actually don't know Quent's opinion on this game, so I'm not going to say I have it ranked highest, but...
I said it wasn't on my list.
Okay, cool.
But
So,
I
yeah,
said it, but like I do think it's a masterpiece. I just didn't put it on the list.
That's fair. So yeah, so as the person who ranked it the highest, I think that this is peak open world gameplay. Like Justin and Colby have already pointed out, the fact that you can do everything that the game has to offer and then fight Ganon, or you can literally just walk in with nothing and fight Ganon is really cool. Whenever you feel like beating the game, you can just go do so. I think the dungeons, at first, I was not a fan of. I thought it was a weird twist, but after experiencing them, through doing a few, I think that they're some of the best Zelda dungeons. I think that they actually have some difficult puzzles to figure out, and figuring out how to maneuver the beasts to solve the puzzles was a really cool touch. The shrines themselves could be a game all on its own. Like, if there was just a Zelda game where it was like, here's 500 shrine puzzles, I'd buy it in an instant. The shrines were just so fun for me, and every single puzzle was just fun to figure out. The bosses were good. I didn't think that the bosses were anything crazy, but just the open worldiness of it, the weapon system, like all of it's so good. The armor system, and the one thing that nobody has touched on yet about Breath of the Wild is, and I don't know if this is a hot take, but for me, the DLC in this game is by far the best DLC in a video game that I've ever played.
Yep. I mean, Dark Souls 3 is really good too. I'm not gonna lie.
So I haven't played Dark Souls 3, so I can't compare. But this DLC was so good for me. Both of them. The Trial of the Sword was awesome. Just a rush of starting with nothing and going through, like, climbing your way through more difficult fights, and just salvaging resources while doing so was a super cool concept. It was a pretty difficult challenge, nothing too crazy, but it was super fun to have to, like, use weapons that you find on the ground and pick up some stuff and cook some stuff to better your chances. It was a super cool addition to the game. Not to mention there was a lot of like armor and clothing items that were added more for fun, not for like genuine like benefits, but
I wish it
a
was
cool
better.
addition.
I wish the DLC like items were better, but they were cool anyways.
And then the other DLC for me was super cool. I think I'd have to give it a think, but the added dungeon, the 5th dungeon in this game that they add with the DLC, was probably my favorite Zelda dungeon ever. The 4 different areas that all had different elements, and each one had a certain puzzle, was a super cool concept. And then it all ends off with the Maz Koshia fight, which was also just a banger of a Zelda fight, as a last kind of trial that you have to go through. And then you're rewarded with a fucking motorcycle. So that was pretty cool too.
It was so out of left field, but it was very welcome.
Yeah, so just everything about this game is great. For such a long game, like a game that when I play it, I'll sink like full time. Like I'll beat all of the shrines again. I'll do all the beasts and everything. So a pretty hefty amount of gameplay. I've played it all the way through plenty of times. And I can't say that for a lot of games. Like a lot of games on this list are just as long, but I'll only play them through once because there's a lot of aspects of the game that I'm like, I can skip this now that I've already played it through once, but I don't really feel like going through it again. That's one thing for P5R for me, because I really want to replay it and kind of get the new game plus aspect of it, but it's tough because of all the dialogue and stuff that I just don't want to go through again. Breath of the Wild for me is so easy to go back to. If I'm ever bored, I can just be like, all right, just start a Breath of the Wild run. And every time I go back to it, I find out new stuff. Like the first time I played it, I didn't utilize the cooking system at all, which is so funny because the cooking system is awesome in that game.
So much fun.
But yeah, just such a good game. I could, again, the top 4 games on my list I could go on and on about, but this one places pretty nicely at number 3 for me.
I haven't gotten my take on Breath of the Wild yet, I don't think, but it's not on my list or my honorable mentions, but when I got this game on my Switch, I literally could not put it down for like weeks and weeks on end, and I did everything, and when the DLC came out, I was even more hopelessly addicted than when I got it for the first time. And this game just has a crazy amount of variety, and there's so much you can explore and do. It's crazy. This game is super replayable, and it's definitely a masterpiece as well.
You can continue on with your Hollow Knight take if you want to.
Hollow Knight takes everything that I love from Metroid and Dark Souls and combines it into a masterful execution of a video game in of itself. Hollow Knight has so much personality. The concept of these bugs being controlled and influenced by this greater being, which is the Pale King, is so unique, and it's so unique to the point I don't think there's any other game that has a concept quite like it. Well, maybe like as far as like being influenced by a greater being, maybe, but being bugs and the environments they're so unique. You'll never see anything like it. The gameplay is fine-tuned to absolute perfection. The game controls perfectly. All the power-ups feel very natural and easy to use. The combat's amazing. The fact that every time you attack something, you get more fuel for your magic, or soul as they call it in the game, which allows you to heal, use magic attacks, is a genius idea, and it definitely reminds me of Bloodborne in that aspect, where if you get hit in Bloodborne, you have an opportunity to get your health back by playing very aggressively and attacking back, which is awesome. That's a lot of fun. Hollow Knight definitely is able to showcase what sort of playstyle you should be probably using to go through it, which I thought was a lot of fun. It like most of what makes Hollow Knight great has already been said, but for me, Hollow Knight is another one of those games like Dark Souls 3 where it came in at a time where I really needed it, and because of that, it rates extremely high. Like the last 2 games on my list, if they weren't pure nostalgia picks, Hollow Knight would be number 1 easily. But since I have an amazing childhood, I unfortunately can't do that in good conscience. So, Hollow Knight is a masterpiece. I don't think much more needs to be said about that. It's just fucking. I can play it literally any day of the week and have fun with it. And the randomizer just gives it even more longevity, which makes it even better.
I guess that means that we can automatically go to the next game.
I'll let you take the stage if you'd like first, and I can build off because I have a lot to say too. But
You sure? I don't mind. You can strike it while it's hot.
All right. Let me get going then. All right, this game, it does everything that Nier Replicant does, but literally just better. This game is just better Replicant. So it's like a lot of the things I said about that, I love about this game just even more. The story is absolutely masterful in the way they craft these, 3 characters that going into we know literally nothing about, and they seem, honestly kind of like two-dimensional, but as you learn more about them and everything, there's like so much going on for each of them in their playthroughs that you learn throughout playing the game. And the combat system itself is amazing. It's nothing insane, but it's flashy enough that it works. And just this game is so beautiful in like every single aspect even imaginable. Like, I enjoyed every single run of this game playing 2B, 9S, and A2. Like, I don't think I have a single part of this game that I don't like. Like, it's all so good, and it's amazing that this game even exists with the tier of story that it has. I don't like. There's so much to say. I seriously don't even know where to go with it.
Tyler touched on one of my favorite parts of the entire story. 9S and his growth over the entire part was just phenomenal. I loved all of that.
9S's development and his downfall of his psychological state of him learning that his entire purpose and his entire life is pretty much a lie for not much reason at all. It's amazing. It's so beautifully guided and hinted at throughout the story, just for them to get the bombshell that is that 2B, the person that he is the most important person to him, her sole purpose being to kill him when he learns too much, is just it's so amazing. It's such a great story. I remember learning about that, and they don't explicitly say, I mean they do, they bring it up in the game, but the fact that I had to do some digging for that and learned that, it just blew my mind on how many different levels this game is just amazing.
I'm just gonna bullet pinpoint the interactions between 9S, 2B, their pods, and their operators, all independently and between each other. I specifically really liked 9S and his operator, because you play so much with 2B and hers that you're accustomed to their their friendship, and then you get 9S and his, and it's completely different. And it's
crazy the contrast between
that's just a tiny detail. I'll go into a bigger one. So there's extremely deep, full of philosophical attempts at trying to create not only life but death. It's the most easiest with Adam and Eve.
The philosophical question of humanity is one that is very, very great in this game.
You get
is also fucking really good.
you get the original idea of Adam and Eve trying to rebirth like their land, and so if you can interpret all these robots and stuff as their creations, with their land now destroyed, this earth being shattered and stuff. So you get this first take on the philosophical input of rebirth on life and your purpose as an android, and whether you're doing what is morally right, and all that's intertwined between your relationships and your growth as a android, because these robots, 2B9S, they gain emotional ties that sort of give you these overall AI introspective questions that just arise great moments, like the end of part 1.
It is crazy.
Then you get towards later, you sort of get this cynical view of what all of this means, what your purpose was as an android, what everything you thought was originally, and you take that to such a crazy level with A2, and then it all ties in together with how your sort of noble, if not responsible, actions with 2B9S throughout the game basically are your undone burden against yourself, and that by the time that 2B's slowly falling away, it wouldn't have mattered because she's sort of meeting her fate anyways. Because
you finish.
well, I was just gonna finish because the way that the world has built itself, the actions that the characters in the world have already affected people, and that's important because you're adding more than just layers of character that can be so much more than just surface level, with specific remarks to like A2, and what you get towards the end of the game with 9S and her, and what the endings sort of imply, and what the fruitions of everything they're trying to do is. You can go now.
The one thing that is honestly criminal on all four of us that we haven't brought up is that this game has the single best credits of anything to ever exist.
That is a cool
With-
feature.
From just the song alone, Weight of the World being an absolutely fucking beautiful piece of music, to the fact that you play the credits and you're like, it's like a very difficult shoot 'em up that in itself is like a challenge that like presents itself to you in such an amazing way of do you accept help in like this extremely hard like shoot 'em up section, and eventually ending the game with them asking if you are willing to wipe your save file entirely in order to help people that are also on the credits trying to finish it. Like I absolutely love every single second of those credits. I just wish that they were replayable, because it was so great. That game was absolutely amazing in every aspect.
It's funny you say
know what my
that.
favorite part about Nier is? In the DLC, you can fight the CEO of PlayStation.
Oh yeah.
Um,
You can fight the Square Enix CEO and this is the
Yeah.
PS4 one.
I totally forgot this. I think
It's so funny.
me and Tyler streamed us playing and beating Automata. He just randomly watched me play the ending of Automata one time, and we
Yeah.
had to beat the credits 3 times. I don't remember why, but I remember
Yeah, something
having to
was-
do it
Oh,
so
that just
many
reminds me
times.
of when Justin streamed Nier Automata for the first time.
And I died to Adam.
That was a fucking
like
trip.
7,000 times in a row, but that was fun. All right, we shall continue to the second to last list of the tiers, and then
Time for the controversy.
oh, will there be controversy? I doubt it.
No,
We're
because no
all
one's
so-
gonna know what the last 2 games on my list are.
We're all so fine and dandy. Quent with Final Fantasy Tactics, Tyler with FF7 Remake, Colby with Shadows of the Colossus, myself with Final Fantasy
Shadows of
VII
the Colossus, holy
Remake.
shit.
All right, lads, let us begin the spiciest takes of them all. So, Colby, Shadows of the Colossus. Let's hear about it.
So this game, before my, of course, number one, was my uncontested number one. This game has everything for me. Like, this was my first. This game's like open world. Like, it's. I don't know. Like, I don't know what I love so much about it. I love the emptiness. The fact that in this world you feel like so small compared to these giant colossal creatures that aren't really doing anything to really bother you, but it's just this game, like, between like everything is just so amazing. Like, this game still, like, to this day, like, I'm lost for words about it. It has so much nostalgia to me. This was like one of my first PS2 games that I played, and I remember, like, for so long having no clue what the fuck I was doing, but still loving every second of even just simply exploring the completely empty and barren world of this forbidden lands in this game, just to go around and find these 16 different colossus, which are in themselves their own puzzles that you have to try and figure out how to climb up on. And the gameplay itself, is frustrating as it is, it's so amazing that to this day, this game has been remade twice, and there are countless games that reference to its, like, gameplay. Like, this game is just so good. I cannot recommend it enough. Even people who I know probably won't like it because of its emptiness and because of how, like, just the gameplay itself is, I still recommend it. Even just giving this game a try, like, it means the world to me. I am very, very happy that I have played this game when I did. And I've probably beaten this game more than I have any game, like, combined with everything I've played.
Shadow of the Colossus is great. It's fucking awesome. And of course, Aggro is the best horse in gaming.
Oh, Aggro is the greatest horse. I, like, almost cried at the end with Aggro.
I totally did. I'm not even gonna lie. I was super upset.
I have not played it, sadly.
Oh, it is so worth it. It is so worth it. Play it, like, as soon as it becomes convenient to you. Like, it is.
No, it really is that good.
It is so good. Like, there are people I know that have their problems with it, but this game really is, like, a cult classic. I mean, like, there's a reason it's been remade on the PS3 and the PS4. Like, it is definitely worth the hype.
And on that note, we can take our tactics to somewhere else. Quent, please tell us about the wonderful world of Ivalice.
Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite tactical RPG of all time. So, unlike Fire Emblem, which is going to be the closest similarity to Tactics that I can, like, make a good comparison to, Fire Emblem is a lot more bigger in scale, while Final Fantasy Tactics is a lot more compact. Much smaller battles, but your decisions matter a lot more because the action usually occurs a lot faster, and enemies usually hit you not quite a bit hard, because in Fire Emblem you can get fucking one shot. But there's a lot of stakes in Final Fantasy Tactics. It is, oh god, it's so hard to describe this game. The story of this game alone, if you love, like, the medieval kind of style with, like, crazy plot twists and lots of betrayal and a lot of political tension, this is probably the game for you. And it's got an amazing story from start to finish. You literally can never predict anything it's going to do, and that alone is very, very worth commending. The music in this game is stellar. It's Final Fantasy. Of course, the music's going to be great. Tactics has some absolute bangers in it from start to finish. A lot of the battle themes are great. The menu themes are very cozy sounding, and just the whole package just fits the game very well. The gameplay is the highlight of this game because it's much more compact than Fire Emblem. It's much more easier to understand than Fire Emblem. You move your unit, you can attack, use an ability, defend, or you can wait, which waiting just means that you don't do anything with your turn. And then you decide which direction they're going to face, which has certain effects on blocking values and how much damage you take. So if the character comes up behind you and they hit you in the back, you'll take more damage, and they have a 100% chance to hit you. Compared to if you hit them in the side, there's like that has a better chance of blocking, but you probably won't block. And of course, hitting them in the front, you have a good chance of blocking. A lot of strategy for a game like this. Tons of variety. A shit ton of different classes. Every class has different abilities that you can equip onto your character to make them really powerful. There's tons of awesome combinations. You get a ton of different characters to mess around with. An amazing roster of story important characters as well that will join you, and you'll be able to recruit. A decent amount of side quest content. There's one character in particular that I won't spoil, but if you like Final Fantasy VII, you'll probably be pretty happy. This game is, like, I don't know how much, because Justin's played it, so like he kind of he might have like a better perspective on like why it might not be good or bad. But I played this game a shit ton when I was a kid, so it ranks way higher for me automatically because of that, higher than Hollow Knight. But this game just has so much style too. Like it feels like a PS1 game, but like it just plays so perfect, and it has so many cool little effects and just everything. The sound design's great, the character models are great, the models for the battlefields are great. It's all great. I cannot recommend this game enough. If Fire Emblem doesn't really appeal to you, you might love Final Fantasy Tactics, is what I'm trying to get at. So overall, pretty good.
So I think Final Fantasy Tactics excels in the customization aspects. Like the job system is phenomenal. I love the job system. It's a lot of fun to grind these guys, be able to pick up whichever abilities you want, and through this you get to customize a lot of your team, and your team gets a lot of diversity through this. It's a little difficult at first to grow, but by later games you're getting so much different customizations, and you're figuring out which does the best damage, which does the most for your team. There's a lot of spells that just do a ton of damage, and there's a lot of different effects. I haven't beaten the game. I've played several randomizers because I fucking love the idea of being able to get these random jobs, random assignments, all of it. It's so much fun. Randomizers are very difficult, but and I've never beaten one. But I love being able to boot up Final Fantasy Tactics and be able to have so much at my disposal when it comes to crafting an army of people that you get to fully put together. It's a lot like Fire Emblem, but Fire Emblem focuses more on the characters, and that sometimes can be its downside in some aspects, and a lot of the times in the plot, whereas Tactics' plot is much more grounded, and it doesn't try and take the center stage of the show, but when it does, it's good enough where the story implementation of the action is like intriguing, and it adds layers to the fight, or it allows for you to basically like take your own advantage in each of the maps and areas you go to, and there's a lot of like ways that you can prepare for each fight, and I think that's where this game definitely excels at, like the world map aspect, something that like Fire Emblem doesn't quite have as much of, where like you think of like the GBA games and like Awakening and Fates, like you don't have that in Radiant Dawn, where you can keep going to points on the map and revisit shops and stuff like that. That's a really cool concept that adds a layer that avoids the need for such big open world maps, but keeping everything tight. I don't have this on my list. If I had grown up playing it, I bet you I'd probably have so much more of a fondness for it. I think it was just unlucky that I never got my hands on it. But yeah, I definitely think that's a great pick for a top 3. And on that note, I think it's time we divulge into me and Tyler's probably favorite joint experience.
For sure.
I think, I don't know if there's, like, I mean, it's difficult with, like, Wind Waker randomizers, but, like, a true one-to-one experience, we both got to basically beat FF7R, if not several parts of the story together. And when we weren't together, we were just playing the parts that we didn't want to do together, like the questing and stuff like that, off screen, like at our own games and stuff like that. And it basically optimized our experience for the most enjoyment for whenever we got to hang out when we were playing this game, while always being a new experience for us because neither of us have ever touched FF7. And we know about like 3, maybe 2 spoilers. And
Bad
so,
boy hours.
yeah, I know, but holy crap! I'll start vague because would you rather do technical or experience? Do you want to talk about like the whimsy, or do you want to talk about like the technical of remake?
I'd rather talk like I have more influence on the actual like gameplay rather than like.
Okay, then so basically because we haven't touched FF7 and the idea that all of this was such a new mystery for us, this game at base gets elevated to such a high degree, because at the sheer like foundation of this game, the graphics are impeccable, the characters, the VA, all of it at a very baseline is super well done. Animations don't look super clunky. The UI looks great. Cutscenes flow smoothly. Everything does everything at a good level to begin with. The benefit is that Remake then takes a lot of this stuff and just excels at it and just pushes the gas pedal on so many things that just make Final Fantasy. And thank God Cloud got so much hype because they did so much that you wouldn't think that they'd not only they definitely want to make some of the changes that they did in this game, because I'm so excited for this story that they're telling.
Oh my god, it is so crazy that this is only like a small portion of
that's the craziest part. But Tyler, you might as well take the floor.
All right. Well, the first thing I guess is this combat system is so far ahead of any other game I've ever touched. Just everything about it is perfect in my opinion. The fact that you can mid fight change between the characters that are there, it's not always, it could be just one person, it could be 2 people, it could be all 4 of them, and each character is a different fighting style. There's Magic, there's Cloud with the sword, there's Barrett with the machine gun, or Tifa just fist fighting, and all of them were super fun to use, super fun to utilize their strengths, and the ATB gauge was also super fun. The fact that you could mid-fight kind of slow down the fight enough to where it's not paused, but to where it's slowed down enough where you can make decisions in the menu was perfect. All of the fighting was some of the best stuff that I've ever experienced in a video game, and I'm so excited to see what they do with future titles if they ever come out. It's been a fucking minute,
baby.
Don't worry, guys. Our grandchildren will be able to tell us how it goes.
while we're fucking dying in our fucking oxygen tank in the hospital room.
Yo.
Yeah, my grandson will come in like, Gramps, Cloud finally beat Sephiroth. I'll be
what? So I also really enjoyed the story.
No.
So I know you're an original FF7 boyo.
Well, I can tell you that after talking to Justin about it, I can be fine with what FF7R does with the story. However, I do have problems with it still.
Yeah, that's fine. But I think they did it really well in a way that they expanded on the game, but I don't think it really ruins an experience for an FF7 like the original, someone who played that, because this whole entire game takes place up until you leave Midgar. In the original FF7, you're in Midgar for the first
3 hours.
Exactly. And it's like a 50-hour game.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool. Like, there's so much expansion on it that just excites me so much. Like, that's so cool.
I will say, the fact that I'm going to be vague, the fact that FF7R, the way it depicts how it goes off rails from the original is actually really cool, and I think that if you play the original, when you guys do, I think you'll actually appreciate FF7R's story more in that aspect, which is one thing that I can actually say that the story does really well in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
One thing I feel like I kind of stayed back when I was talking about, because I kind of want to talk about it here, but one thing I really wanted to touch on was Sephiroth in this game, because like you said, this game in comparison to Final Fantasy VII is just the first few hours of gameplay, but I love that this game, over how long it is in comparison to the original, how much they slightly mention Sephiroth, and he's thrown around and seen in flashbacks and everything. It's I love how they handle that character, that he's this looming threat that's not yet came to really show up and start fucking shit up yet.
If you like how Final Fantasy VII Remake does Sephiroth, if you ever get to the original FF7, it is actually like 50 times more crazier than what the remake does. I'm not gonna say how or why, but it's a fucking trip. It's fucking really good. And I think the remake takes that and actually does it justice as well. That was the other part that I was gonna talk about, but you actually got to it first, so I was actually quite happy about that.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see, because everybody knows Sephiroth. So going into this game, I was very excited to see what this character really was like, because if you've played video games to a specific extent to where you are casual gamer, you probably know who Sephiroth is. You've at least heard the name. And finally seeing that he is everything so far that he's been hyped up to be, and we're only a few hours into Final Fantasy VII's original story is so crazy. I love it so much.
And on that note, I think it is finally fine. What?
Finally fine.
Finally time to unveil our favorite single-player games as a society.
Gee, I wonder what mine will be.
Justin, shoutouts to us.
Shoutouts to us. We are the cool people. Everyone else shall not be as cool as us. The cool people have selected the cool game. Tyler has selected Super Mario 64, and Quent has selected Dragon Quest 8. Well, I don't even know where to begin. However, I think the
game that no one knows.
We got a little bit of we'll go with the sketch ball first. Let's go 20 years too late.
You mean Dragon Quest 8?
No, I meant Super Mario 64, but I think I got
Are
the
you
years
gonna
wrong.
No, yeah, that makes more sense. I was Dragon Quest 8 didn't come out 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think I got the years wrong. When did that's whatever.
Mario
Tyler, go.
Came out.
Mario 64 was 96. All right, Mario 64 is, I don't even think it's debatable for me. This is just the best game of all time. I think just everything that the Mario 64 system does is perfect, and the fact that it came out 26 years ago makes it so much better. The issue that obviously Mario 64 has is it's old. I would never be able to get any of you guys to even touch Mario 64 just because it
No,
would be hard to get
I-
I've
into.
played it
I
hundreds of
think-
times.
I think 64 has aged amazingly. I think this game still holds up. I honestly do.
I think that the Mario 64 system is peak video game. It's so simple. Like you just walk into a room, you jump into a painting. There's a set amount of stars per painting, and you have to collect stars to unlock other areas of the castle. Super simple. But holy shit, does this game have so much to offer for a game that came out 30 years ago. I've probably put in more time in this game than I have in every other game on this list combined. And this game is the shortest game out of any of these games. The replayability is unreal. Everything that it has to offer is so good. It's not. I feel like Mario is known for being easy. I don't think Mario 64 is an easy game.
No, it's not.
It's pretty difficult actually. There's a decent amount of it has to do with the issues that the game has for being old, like the camera and just some of the mechanics. But growing up with this, like I find it so super fun to just do or play over and over again. I think the music in this game slaps.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say like it's not on P5R's level, but
It's
for
close.
a 1996 game, this is simple, but it's great.
Dire Dogs and Wingcap Theme alone. I think.
Yes, sir. Both bangers. Just it's so good. I mean, the secrets in it are fun. And there's a lot of other things like the versatility that this game has is better than any game, I think. Like the fact that you can like it's probably the best, if not top like 3 speedrun games.
This game's so cool. It adds speedrunning adds so much to this game.
Like I've had so much fun just going into levels and like optimizing ways to beat the star. Just the fact that backwards long jumping is like this massive glitch, but it's super cool. Like it just adds more fun to the game.
Fun.
And this game, Quent, is the game I was talking about that I actually really enjoy the randomizer for.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So, because there's painting randos where you can jump into a painting and it's a different world, but then there's
too?
random. So there's wild ones. Like there's ones where the star spawns are like random and you spawn in random spots, and the like red coins are randomized, like stuff like that. Just everything about this game. It's a routine. Every painting has the same like 3 or 4 unique missions with like a red coin star, 100 coin star, but you literally can't go wrong. If you're able to get into this game, it is so fucking good. And I think that this game influenced a lot of other Mario games that have come out since.
It's influenced every platformer in existence.
Exactly.
Surprisingly, just recently played this game. Granted, modded. I played it with the mod, if you guys know Guilty Gear at all, where you can play as May from Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was like the most fun I had with the game. It's just being able to fly around on her dolphin. Like, I'd honestly say if you like know how to mod it, try that mod out. It's very fun.
Dude, there's some really good mods as well. Like I did a Super Mario 64 RPG, or not RPG, FPS, and you just walk around with a gun.
Yeah.
It's fucking hysterical.
Oh, I've seen that one.
There was also a ROM hack of it that was like basically, it's known as the sequel, but it's obviously not like a legit sequel.
Play Kaizo Mario 64.
Kaizo's whack, dude. Kaizo's
fun.
insane. It's fun, but it's so hard. But yeah, just everything about this game is perfect in my opinion. And the fact that it came out in 1996 and I can still have a blast playing it is just all the better. I literally was playing it earlier today on my N64. So yeah. So that's that.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a masterpiece. Like, there's no doubt. All the levels in the game are iconic. Like, literally, I don't think there's one level in the game that's not iconic. Music's iconic. Evolutionizing entire platform genre. So yeah, definitely worth being number one, I'd say.
well, on that note, we can cape over to the Luminary, the Dragon Quest VIII.
No, no. There's no luminary.
The hero.
You fool.
The
The bandana lad.
bandana
The
lad.
hero.
Yeah, the hero.
Dragon Quest VIII has my favorite world in all video games. It is so fun to just run around in this world. There's so much to see and do. There's so much variety. The design of everything in this game is perfect. Like, it has such a comfortable feeling. The overworld music that plays while you're exploring just escalates the classic fantasy adventure like concept and feeling a tenfold. There's literally nothing wrong with it at all in that aspect. The monster designs are all iconic. Like, there's literally like the slime from Dragon Quest, I would argue, is like almost as iconic as Pikachu. Like, there's not a single person, I don't think, who would look at a slime and not know what it is. So obviously, the monster designs in Dragon Quest VIII are perfect. They're made by the same guy who did Dragon Ball. So I mean, and the character designs.
Shows Toriyama.
Mm-hmm. And you can really see his drawing style on the main character because he has the same look as Goku. He even has a reference to Goku where there's a mechanic in the game where you can psych up, and psych up is basically where it increases your damage. And if you get the hero to psych up to 100, he literally goes Super Saiyan. It's really funny. God. So this game has another really awesome little mechanic in it called the alchemy pot. The alchemy pot allows you to take 2 items that you probably aren't going to be using anymore, and you can combine them to create an even better weapon, item, or accessory. Not only does this make every single item that you pick up probably really useful later on, but the amount of things that you can make with it, and like just like the amount of creativity behind it is so fucking fun. Like, you could literally spend hours, like how Tyler was talking about in P5R, where he would just spend hours making personas. You can spend hours making different items. Pot.
You beat me to it. I was gonna say, what if those items also had subgroups of items within them that you could customize too?
They do.
Okay.
That's the
beauty of this. If they do, then they're very similar to Persona, but it's the same exact thing. The idea of taking 2 things and putting it into one. But fuck it. Like, I'm glad that with your bolster of Dragon Quest VIII that they can create the same things that our number one can create in terms of the customization, because that just goes to show you, like, these guys, we got the cream of the crop.
Pretty much. The characters in this game, their chemistry is so perfect. Like the hero doesn't talk, obviously, so that's like whatever. But every other character has so much personality, and like they have all these little quirks about them that make them feel very realistic and very grounded in their own ways. And they definitely make up for the hero's absence of character, for sure. God, there's so much work. The music is all orchestrated by the London Symphony Orchestra, and it's fucking breathtaking just listening to it. It's probably some of the best music I've heard in a video game in a minute, especially a game that was made in 2004. That's pretty impressive.
Shout out to London.
Other things. What?
Shout out to London.
Anyways, the rest of what I'll say is that if you are looking for a game that is not dark fantasy but just a normal fantasy game that feels like Dragon Ball, and that in the sense of like it's so creative and fun and just like just so hypnotizing, and how it entices you to just keep playing it, it's like, this is definitely number one. I played this game from since I was 6 years old all the way up to now. My most recent playthrough was literally last year, and there's so much, and there's so many side quests, so much additional content in this game. There's so much you can do. The world is fucking huge. They even have a side mode where you can recruit monsters that you fight, and you can make them fight against other monsters, and you get rewards for it. Like, there's literally there's no limit to what this game does. And like everything you can think of, this game probably does, and that alone makes it probably one of the greatest gems of all time on the PS2 that I don't think a lot of people really talk about. So, Dragon Quest VIII is my favorite video game of all time, and it's not even close. But the only bad thing about it, I guess, would be accessibility, because it's only on the PS2 and 3DS. I would personally recommend the PS2 version. The 3DS version has a lot of extra stuff, but it's not super necessary, but it can be pretty fun to mess around with. But yeah, definitely a masterpiece of a JRPG, for sure.
All right, boys.
All right, Justin, how are we doing this?
We gotta hop in the Morgana mobile. We gotta bring everyone in.
I got the
huddle
music
up.
playing right now. Don't worry.
We're cooking with gas. So, the good news is, I don't even have to talk about it that much because most people already know or heard from the four of us the intrinsic things that this game just does. But I'll do it again in a very fundamental way. They take just about every single function in the game and go, how can we add more layers to this? And then add about 8 more layers to it with 4 more different functioning capabilities and 7 different more things that consistently connects with other functions. And oh man, my god, it's just everything wrapped in the neatest little ball ever. So I guess the style, everyone talks about the style, the presentation, the graphics for some things. I don't like the anime cutscenes that much, but there's portions where I'm like, wow, I really do enjoy this, visually at least, because some of the characters can be a little goofy looking sometimes. And they're all very stick-like. Where do I go next? Fuck me. God, every single relationship is so good except for Morgana's. Like, it's all so good. Every single one.
Do you remember when I said why I don't like Akumura's Palace arc? It's literally because of Morgana.
Well, yeah, that's it. I hate the whole beginning because it's all so forced. Morgana has no reason for leaving all the people that are giving him purpose in his life currently. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all.
It really doesn't. It makes
So,
no sense at all. I love it.
I actually really do hate that part, because that's a part where I'm like, I can't be bothered to watch any of this. Like, I'll just skip over all of it. I don't care.
It's like
Haru's
the only part I skip.
Haru is such an unfortunate character. She doesn't get enough time to develop, I feel like.
I actually don't give a fuck about Haru, and that's fine, because there's too much going on, and there's so many. So they took every single character and was like, how do we flesh out every single character correctly and properly?
You guys like Akechi? Well, here's some more development for him,
God,
but
stop.
not Haru.
It's insane. No, it's well, no, it's you're saying it in like a negative light to Haru. I'm saying like, oh my god, they took Akechi and gave him 8 more different developments within the span of a single new game that was an addition. Like, oh my god. I've never seen dungeons made in such a phenomenal way. It takes everything you want from the satisfaction of progressing through a dungeon, like getting through like a Zelda puzzle or some shit like that. It makes it consistent within the world, consistent within the characters, and approachable and understandable enough that just about anyone could solve it within given X amount of time. There's not a single point in the game where the game makes it too difficult to progress unless you softlock yourself on the very last day to beat Kamoshida's Palace, like I did in my very first playthrough of Persona 5. Fun fact, I played Persona 5 on the very last day, saved, and then went into Kamoshida's because I was forced into it, and I had no heals, nothing, and I was like at the first angel fight, and so I had to get through the whole entire palace, and I just couldn't do it. And so
I have another story.
I dropped it for a year, and then I came back to it, and I don't think I stopped playing it for about a month. And that was.
I have another story with you, Justin.
Oh no.
So when you started playing Royal, you got to Kamoshida, and you messaged me. You're like, "Why is Kamoshida so fucking difficult?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" And I watched you play for like an hour, and we realized that you had the difficulty on hard the entire you're done.
I think I
Do you
liked
remember
it
that?
on hard. I don't remember why I couldn't beat the palace. I think I was just super underleveled. Like I just didn't fight everything because I typically run past most things. Like I just can't be bothered to
Right.
fight like too many mobs. I don't know. I also just knew in the back of my mind I was like, there's no good personas here. I don't want to grind here and try and grab all these dumb fucking kelpies. But like I didn't mind the idea that like I'm glad that these bosses were hard. And oh my god, talk about Royal just going above and beyond. Like I get it, it's sort of like a re-release. Like some people might be mad and be like, "Oh my god, what are you doing?" And I will drive to your house and give you a
We'll lost them
PowerPoint
for
presentation
Mount
on why Royal does everything right and is deserving of every single dollar and then some.
God, that's so good.
The themes of the palaces too are also just impeccable. Like every single one.
Well,
It's really
so I don't. The only one I want to specifically talk about because Okumura's is ass, and then every single else falls under my consistency with character development. Like Sai, Futaba, all of those are just phenomenal. Within it's up to for debate if the palaces themselves are like fun at all hours. Like Futaba's can get a little annoying, but anyways.
Size is perfect, I think.
I love Sais. I could play Sais over and over again. The Marukis I have questions about because I do remember being like, wow, I feel like everyone's jumping to a lot of conclusions with this crazy magic shit that Maruki's doing for Kasumi. I remember it being like weird, the whole process, and I'm being very vague for those who haven't played it because fucking go play it, Mediv. And so when you beat the game and the thing happens with Maruki, I think like this is like my least favorite thing that happens in the whole game because it's the only contrived thing that just happens because
I know exactly what you're talking about.
it just happens because the story was like whatever and they try to justify it, which is like fine, I guess. Like yeah, I guess he's a pretty nice guy overall, but like come on. There's like one really weird detail that apparently he's the best in the world at just fucking I guess being a nice guy, but that portion sucks. Oh my god. Thank God they did that. No, that's not what I'm getting to. Like, thank God they did that because it gives you one of my favorite story developments ever. It's so amazing, and then it takes all the moral themes that you've learned because it's all payoffs. It's every single character gets the payoff that they've been trying to get all game. So every character develops, which is good and bad because it's good because you get all these great moments where if you like this character, you're like, wow, they really changed over time. Like it's a little flimsy with people like I guess like Makoto, but like you'll notice right away that Futaba like leaves the building. Like that's a big deal. Like she's a social person by the end of it, and all of them have different hardships. That's what makes them phantom thieves. They have to overcome them, and it's difficult. And it's difficult for a high schooler to overcome all their problems, and they try to address that in a social way. And I think it's a decent overall way of showing how high schoolers can overcome things with special powers. Whatever. Anyways, the whole show has everyone suffer in different ways. Then the show's like, all right, what happens if we reversed all of this and we showed what everything was like, and it's like, whoa. And I remember that dynamic being one of the fucking most bittersweet things ever because immediately I'm like, guys, come on, we can't. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't want you to leave your dad. Like, I don't want to do this. I remember that being just so like gut wrenching, and Akechi is the best example. It's not close. And I love Akechi's demeanor because if he isn't the way he is and very like whatever about it, like I don't give a fuck, and then slowly opening up a little bit once you eventually get his third tier, and you sort of are like, yeah, dude, like this sucks, but we're not only are we all here for you, but we're doing the right thing. And shit like that is just, oh my god. Like, there's not much writing that beats some of this stuff. It has so many years of development and so much time put into all of it that you're like, wow, I mean, I'm glad you guys got here, you should have, but the issue is we look at like Star Wars shows today and go, how the fuck do you not come close to like one character? Like, you don't have a single Maruki in your TV shows, so like you really look back and go, man, I'm glad that I had to read through all that wall of text because it's so much better than the 10 episodes of Boba Fett that I just watched. And I'm strictly talking about like like a writing aspect, because it's unfortunate we don't get characters as good as P5Rs and as good as a lot of these other games.
It's like the Demon Slayer effect. It looks good, but it's not. It just doesn't do anything. Not Persona 5, but just like other shows and stuff.
Like they just don't. They don't put all the effort into that, and for me, those matter the most. But the irony is they also put effort into every single other facet of the game, so you can enjoy everything else too. So, P5R is just golden.
All right, Justin, baton pass me this shit. I'm explaining all this again because I care about this game way too much.
Yo, let me animate this shit.
Yeah. Bro, like literally everything you said about this game, I cannot agree more with, and I'm very sorry for the fact that I'm probably gonna go through and just geek over every single fact again, just because this game deserves it. This game is the perfect video game, the perfect like piece of media in my opinion. Like there is not a single thing I feel like this game fumbles on. Like every single part of this game is just, it blows everything else I've played out of the water, and it's not even close. Like the fact that when this game came out, like I played Persona 5 and Royal both separately, both times when I got this game in my hands, a month of my life disappeared. A month of my life in the real world had disappeared. My friends no longer existed. My friends were now the Phantom Thieves, and I'm very sorry to, if any of, if Matt or Mason or Mike somehow watched this, but that was the truth. I ignored you guys for like a month for this game because these people were a lot more important at the time. Like everything about this game, the way they set up from the Phantom Thieves, like being this like small group, just like I just see the chat, this like small group like stopping like just corrupt adults to straight up like changing the world. And like just the fact that they're like what they're fighting for is something very important, and like there's just so much meaning to each of the characters, and each palace has its own like amazing story in its own, like there's there's Futaba's palace, which is like very sensitive for for like a lot of people. Like every single palace touches on very sensitive topics for certain people, so I feel like literally anyone can find some kind of like respect and like love for this story, because like you can connect with one of the characters on multiple levels, and it's just the messages and everything that this game has to offer, like as stupid as it sounds, I feel like honestly changed like how like it changed my life, honestly. Like I'll say it, as stupid as that sounds, this game like changed who I was after I played it. It is insane how good it is, and I feel like it for literally everyone that knows me, and like you guys aside because you've played it, literally all of my friends that have known me for any amount of time know that I have begged and pleaded for them to play Persona 5 because I just want to share this game with people. It is like so important to me. It's insane. Like this game has like changed a lot about me, and it's crazy. Like I love everything, and like how you said with Persona 5 Royal, literally just being like better Persona 5 in every aspect, with the new characters that they added, and Kasumi and Maruki being like absolutely amazing add-ons. They don't feel like they're just thrown in there to be DLC or whatever at all. Like they definitely fit right into the story. The fact that they take the character Akechi, who is already like a fan favorite but didn't have much content to him, the fact that they like gave him so much more content that solidified him as an amazing character, like everything about this game is amazing. And like going into it, I was a little nervous about like how will the game transition from, you know, your fight with what's the name of the Yaldabaoth, like the fake god, with your fight with him straight into Maruki's, you know, palace. But it was done like flawlessly. It is just so good. And like, you know, every single aspect about this game is just so amazing. Like, I gotta stop myself because I will talk about this game for forever.
That's fine. If you have any other last touches, go for it. If you'll need a second to gather your thoughts. But other than that, we have completed our top 10 ranking of our favorite single-player games between the four of us. And I think we have an incredibly diverse list. I think there's consistency between us that would definitely highlight the types of games that we like in common. I think there's a lot of diversity. I think there's some one-offs that are incredibly unique enough to each other and special enough to us that really define our tastes, and I really like our lists.
When do we do the multiplayer one?
Well,
Right now.
we can probably set up for next Sunday. The good news is, hopefully if Matty B watches more than 2 minutes of this,
2 minutes.
he will want to do something like this, because I don't see why he wouldn't fit right in. But other than that, thank you all for watching. See you next time.